Good evening, everyone. Welcome back once again to the channel Embrace IAS. I hope you all might have completed with part 1 and part 2 of the Vision IAS magazine, which has been already uploaded. So today we are going to start with part 3 of our magazine, which will consist of the sections of IR and culture. Okay? We'll be going through the topics quickly. And as I've already mentioned, don't worry about the extra details that you need to know and extra factual data that you need to know. Okay, I am already preparing a 20-page document and it will be rigidly a 20-page document only. ठीक है, ये सारे 132 पेजेस को हम कंपाइल करेंगे 20 पेजेस में एंड इसमें सारे एडिशनल डेटा भी होंगे जो आपको प्रीलिम्स के लिए या मेंस के लिए याद रखना है. Right? So don't worry about it. Your revision material will be provided to you once we are done with the magazine. Okay? तो अब स्टार्ट करते हैं. अभी हम लोग सिर्फ हमारा मैगजीन डिस्कशन में एजेंडा जो रहता है वो ये रहता है कि ओनली वी आर अंडरस्टैंडिंग अबाउट व्हाटएवर टॉपिक्स आर इन न्यूज एंड व्हाटएवर इज द कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ दोस टॉपिक्स बीइंग इन न्यूज, राइट? सो दैट इज ऑल दैट वी हैव टू स्टडी. और इसके अलावा कुछ प्रिलिमिनरी रिलेटेड जो फैक्ट्स होते हैं वो हमें इसमें से मार्क ऑन करने हैं. ठीक है, बाकी आपका रिविजन डॉक्यूमेंट फाइनल वही 20 पेज डॉक्यूमेंट होगा. सो डोंट वरी अबाउट इट. चलो स्टार्ट करते हैं. तो पहला टॉपिक हमारा इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस में है, द इंडिया यूएस रिलेशंस. ठीक है, एक ओवरव्यू देख लेते हैं. तो बायलैटरल ट्रेड जो है इंडिया यूएस का, दिस बेसिकली दिस फिगर इज नॉट इम्पोर्टेंट फॉर यू एट ऑल. ठीक है, आपको इतना याद रखना है कि बायलैटरल ट्रेड में 7.65% दैट इज अप्रोक्सीमेटली 8% का राइज देखा गया है इन द ईयर 2022-23 एज कंपेयर टू 21-22, राइट? सेकंड जो याद रखना है दैट इज यूएस इज इंडियाज लार्जेस्ट एक्सपोर्ट डेस्टिनेशन, व्हिच इज द मेजर एक्सपोर्ट हब फॉर ऑल द इंडियन गुड्स. अगेन एन इंपॉर्टेंट डेटा फॉर योर प्रिलिमिनरी एग्जामिनेशन. देन दिस ऑलमोस्ट एवरीवन माइट बी नोइंग कि यूएस जो है वो हमारा लार्जेस्ट डिफेंस सप्लायर नहीं है. हमारा लार्जेस्ट डिफेंस सप्लायर जो है दैट इज रशिया. सेकंड नंबर पे है फ्रांस. तो यूएस स्टैंड्स एट थर्ड नंबर. ठीक है, अगेन एन इंपॉर्टेंट प्रिलिमिनरी फैक्ट. एंड देन दिस इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्ट्स जो कि स्टेटमेंट बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस में आता है. यूएस के साथ इंडिया का ट्रेड सरप्लस है. ठीक है, आई होप यू माइट बी नोइंग अबाउट दीज टू टर्म्स, ट्रेड सरप्लस एंड ट्रेड डेफिसिट. ट्रेड सरप्लस तब होता है जब किसी कंट्री के एक्सपोर्ट्स उस कंट्री के इंपोर्ट से ज्यादा होते हैं. ठीक है, मतलब हम किसी कंट्री में एक्सपोर्ट ज्यादा कर रहे हैं एज कंपेयर टू हम उस कंट्री से इंपोर्ट कितना कर रहे हैं. और यही ट्रेड डेफिसिट की जब हम बात करते हैं तो ट्रेड डेफिसिट इज जस्ट द ऑपोजिट ऑफ ट्रेड सरप्लस, व्हिच सेज दैट whenever the imports of a country stands higher than the exports of the country from the neighboring country, it becomes a trade deficit. तो चाइना के साथ है हमारा ट्रेड डेफिसिट एंड यूएस के साथ है हमारा ट्रेड सरप्लस. ठीक है, यूएस हमारा लार्जेस्ट एक्सपोर्ट डेस्टिनेशन. Understood? Then the next point is US ने इंडिया को डिक्लेयर किया था एज अ मेजर डिफेंस पार्टनर इन 2016. US डिफेंस एग्रीमेंट्स लेमोआ, बेका, कॉमकासा, इंडस्ट्रियल सिक्योरिटी एग्रीमेंट, ये लास्ट ईयर बहुत न्यूज में रहे थे. आई होप यू ऑल माइट बी नोइंग अबाउट इट. If not, I'll be mentioning all the important facts about these acts. Whatever you have to remember in that document, तो आपको बस simply उस document से factual data याद कर लेना है. ठीक है, बाकी निटी-ग्रिटीज में नहीं जाना है इन अग्रीमेंट्स के. सिंपली आपको इतना पता होना चाहिए कि ये अग्रीमेंट्स हमारे यूएसए के साथ है, राइट? देन कमिंग ऑन फॉरवर्ड, बायलैटरल मिलिट्री एक्सरसाइजेस इंडिया यूएस के बीच की. सो ये नेम्स इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाते हैं आपका, युद्धाभ्यास, वज्रप्रहार, मालाबार एंड रिटायर. ये वी हैव विद यूएस, राइट? Coming on to people ties. So Indian diaspora in US is around 4.9 million and they form the second largest immigrant group in the US after the Mexicans, right? Again an important data for your preliminary examination. ठीक, तो US इंडिया का बैकग्राउंड एक ओवरव्यू देख लिया हम लोगों ने. अब देखते हैं ये न्यूज क्या है. The Indian Prime Minister visited the US on a 3-day state visit in which the strategic deals and partnerships were signed. This is the 31st visit of an Indian PM to the US and only the third official state visit. देखो वैसे it is a 31st visit but only the third official state visit. तो state visit क्या होती है? ये international relations में highest form of visit होती है जब एक head of state दूसरे head of state से मीटिंग करने जाता है on a formal invitation. ठीक है, मतलब उस कंट्री में विजिट के लिए नहीं जा रहा है वो, बेसिकली उस हेड ऑफ स्टेट के फॉर्मल इन्विटेशन पे उस हेड ऑफ स्टेट से मीटिंग करने जा रहा है। ठीक, सो दिस इज द हाईएस्ट फॉर्म ऑफ इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस समिट और मीटिंग। ठीक, की आउटकम्स देखो, अ डिस्क्लेमर बिफोर मूविंग फर्दर इज दिस कि जब हम की आउटकम्स किसी भी मीटिंग के या किसी भी विजिट के देखते हैं तो हमें सिर्फ इतना इंपॉर्टेंट होता है कि उस विजिट में किन किन टॉपिक्स पर बात हुई है और किन किन टॉपिक्स पर हमने कोई अग्रीमेंट साइन किया है या एमओयू साइन किया है, राइट? So that is what is all needed about these kind of visits, these kind of agreements. ठीक, ज्यादा nitty-gritties में हमें नहीं जाना है। तो स्ट्रेटेजिक ट्रेड डायलॉग लॉन्च हुआ है, दिस इज योर वन पॉइंट। सेकंड पॉइंट इज रिगार्डिंग सेमीकंडक्टर्स। सो एक एमओयू हमने साइन किया है ऑन सेमीकंडक्टर सप्लाई चेन एंड इनोवेशन पार्टनरशिप। इकोनॉमी के वीडियो में व्हेन आई हैव एक्सप्लेन्ड योर इकोनॉमी सेक्शंस, प्रोबेबली इन पार्ट 1 एंड पार्ट 2, कुछ सेक्शंस पार्ट 2 में भी डिस्कस्ड है। तो इकोनॉमी जब हमने एक्सप्लेन की थी तो आई हैव टॉक्ड अबाउट सेमीकंडक्टर्स इन डिटेल ओवर देयर, यू कैन गो एंड वॉच द वीडियो वंस अगेन, ओके, इफ यू हैव एनी डाउट्स। तो एमओयू हमने साइन किया है सेमीकंडक्टर सप्लाई चेन पे यूएसए के साथ, ठीक है। जब इकोनॉमी डिस्कस कर रहे थे देन आई हैव टोल्ड यू कि सेमीकंडक्टर्स के केस में चाइना इज वन ऑफ द लार्जेस्ट प्रोड्यूसर्स, ताइवान आल्सो इज वन ऑफ द लार्जेस्ट कंट्रीब्यूटर्स। सो चाइना को काउंटर करने के लिए यूएस इज कमिंग अप विद मेकिंग सप्लाई चेन रेजिलियंस इन द सेमीकंडक्टर सेक्टर, ठीक है। फिर दूसरा आ जाता है आपके टेलीकम्युनिकेशन सेक्टर में। तो टेलीकम्युनिकेशन सेक्टर में क्या प्लान किया है हमने, एक पब्लिक प्राइवेट जॉइंट टास्क फोर्स बनाई है जिसमें कि इंडिया की तरफ से भारत 6G और यूएस की तरफ से नेक्स्ट जी अलायंस, ये दो कंपनीज मिलकर एक पब्लिक प्राइवेट जॉइंट टास्क फोर्स बना रही हैं फॉर डेवलपमेंट एंड डिप्लॉयमेंट ऑफ ओपन रैन सिस्टम्स, ओपन रेडियो एक्सेस नेटवर्क सिस्टम्स। क्या है ये ओपन रेडियो एक्टिव नेटवर्क सिस्टम? तो ये इंटर ऑपरेशन अलाउ करता है बिटवीन दी सेलुलर नेटवर्क इक्विपमेंट्स प्रोवाइडेड बाय डिफरेंट वेंडर्स, ठीक है। सो टू ब्रिंग डाउन द कॉस्ट ऑफ डेटा एंड कम्युनिकेशन, अब सिंस जो सेलुलर नेटवर्क इक्विपमेंट्स हैं जो कि डिफरेंट वेंडर्स प्रोवाइड करते हैं, या सेलुलर नेटवर्क चार्जेस या जो फैसिलिटीज हैं जो सेवरल वेंडर्स प्रोवाइड करते हैं, उनको एक तरीके से इंटर ऑपरेबल कर देना है अक्रॉस द वेंडर्स सो दैट द कॉस्ट ऑफ द सर्विसेज कम्स डाउन and the data and communication becomes easily available to each and every citizen, right? Then we have signed an agreement on quantum technology, on quantum coordination mechanism. We have established it. Okay. Then US-India Science and Technology Endowment Fund was launched for the joint development and commercialization of AI and quantum between the countries. ठीक, तो साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी के फील्ड में हमने किसमें क्वांटम टेक्नोलॉजी एंड एआई की फील्ड में एमओयूज साइन किए हैं। देन रिसर्च एंड इनोवेशन के केस में दिस इज अगेन एन इम्पोर्टेंट टर्मिनोलॉजी, इनोवेशन हैंडशेक नाम का एक नेटवर्क हमने साइन किया है यूएसए के साथ। दिस इज टू प्रमोट द स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम्स ऑफ द टू कंट्रीज, ठीक है। ये इनोवेशन हैंडशेक किसके बैकड्रॉप में आया है? तो जनवरी 2023 में हमने आईसीईटी साइन किया था, इनिशिएटिव ऑन क्रिटिकल एंड इमर्जिंग टेक्नोलॉजी, जिसके बैकड्रॉप में अब क्योंकि क्रिटिकल एंड इमर्जिंग टेक्नोलॉजीज पर हमने एक इनिशिएटिव साइन किया है एंड वी हैव टू डेवलप दीज टेक्नोलॉजीज, जिसमें कि हमें स्टार्टअप्स को प्रमोट करना पड़ेगा, स्मॉलर कंपनीज को प्रमोट करना पड़ेगा विद बेटर इनोवेशन आइडियाज। तो उन स्टार्टअप्स को प्रमोट करने के लिए अब हम इनोवेशन हैंडशेक लेकर आए हैं, राइट। So ICET is for defense industrial cooperation and strategic technological partnership between the companies and the academic institutions of the two nations, right? So as regards ICET, yeah, ISET, so this will be headed by the National Security Council in India and again the National Security Council in US, okay? फिर हमने क्लीन एनर्जी पार्टनरशिप पर वर्क किया है। क्लीन एनर्जी पार्टनरशिप हमने की है यूएसए के साथ, नाम पर नहीं जाना है एग्रीमेंट के, बस इतना देखना है। क्लीन एनर्जी पार्टनरशिप हमने की है जिसमें कि द यूएस एजेंसी फॉर इंटरनेशनल डेवलपमेंट इज गोइंग टू सपोर्ट द इंडियन रेलवेज एम्बिशियस टारगेट टू बिकम अ नेट जीरो कार्बन एमिटर बाय 2030। नेट जीरो क्या होता है? आई हैव एक्सप्लेन्ड इट सेवरल टाइम्स इन माय योजना वीडियोस as well as I have explained it in my Vision IAS videos in part 1 and part 2. You can go back and watch it again if you don't understand what is the meaning of net zero. Then moving on to critical minerals. तो critical minerals पर हमने एक mineral security partnership नाम का agreement sign किया है to ensure the supply of critical minerals. ये सारे ही agreements के जो नाम है एक्सेप्ट दीज कॉम्प्लिकेटेड नेम्स, यहाँ पर आपको नहीं जाना है, लेकिन अगर कोई शॉर्ट एंड क्रिस्प नाम उस एग्रीमेंट को दिया गया है तो वो नाम आपको अच्छे से मेमोराइज कर लेना है फॉर योर प्रीलिम्स, बिकॉज देयर विल बी स्टेटमेंट बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस इन यूपीएससी, राइट? एंड नाउ you don't have an option of elimination because UPSC is posing options like only 1, only 2, only 3 of the pairs, right? So you don't have elimination techniques left with you. You have to be very rigorous with your facts. Understood? So जो अग्रीमेंट्स का एक शॉर्ट एंड क्रिस्प नाम दे रखा है, आपको वो स्पेसिफिक अग्रीमेंट्स के नाम पता होने चाहिए, जैसे कि इनोवेशन हैंडशेक, मिनरल सिक्योरिटी पार्टनरशिप, ठीक है? तो इन टाइप के नाम आपको पता होने चाहिए। इसके अलावा जो बड़े बड़े नाम हैं, इसमें आपको बस इतना पता होना चाहिए कि किस एरिया में हमने कोऑर्डिनेशन किया है और उस कोऑर्डिनेशन में क्या प्रॉमिस किया गया। ओके, चलो आगे बढ़ते हैं। For collaboration in education, a joint task force of the Association of American Universities and leading Indian educational institutions, including the IITs, was formed for expanding research and university partnerships between the two countries. Okay. सिर्फ इतना इम्पोर्टेंट है कि हमने एक जॉइंट टास्क फोर्स बनाया है हमारे इंस्टीट्यूट्स और फॉरेन यूएस इंस्टीट्यूट्स में रिसर्च प्रमोट करने की, राइट? फिर टॉकिंग अबाउट द वीजा, अगेन यहाँ पर आता है एक इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट, क्योंकि यहाँ एक टर्मिनोलॉजी मिलेगी आपको, H1B वीजा एंड L वीजा। चलो बात कर लेंगे इस पे। तो यूएस ने क्या मेंशन किया है कि इट इज लॉन्चिंग अ पायलट रन टू एडजुडिकेट डोमेस्टिक रिन्यूअल्स ऑफ सर्टेन पिटिशन बेस्ड टेम्पररी वर्क वीजास इन 2023। देखो इसका बैकग्राउंड क्या था कि 2019 में व्हेन कोविड स्ट्रक इंडिया या व्हेन कोविड स्ट्रक द वर्ल्ड, तो यूएस ने अपना वीजा रिजीम और टफ कर दिया था, ठीक है? वर्क वीजास को वो कैंसिल करने लगी थी सो दैट इट कुड एलिमिनेट पीपल, इट कुड एलिमिनेट इमिग्रेंट्स फ्रॉम इट्स कंट्री, ठीक? तो अब दे आर ट्राइंग टू रिन्यू देयर वीजास, जो भी पिटिशन बेस्ड वीजास हैं यूएसए के पास, जितनी भी पिटिशंस हैं, टू रिन्यू द वीजास ऑफ द वर्किंग इंडिविजुअल्स ओवर देयर, सो दे आर प्लानिंग टू वर्क ओवर दोस रिन्यूअल्स, ठीक है? And apart from this, by 2024, yeah, in 2024, they are also planning to implement the domestic renewal of the H1B and the L visa. H1B और L visas क्या होते हैं? देखो, H1B visa is granted when an employer wants to employ workers from foreign countries, ठीक है? यूएस की कंपनी में कोई एम्प्लॉयर है, वो कोई कंपनी होल्ड करता है यूएसए में, उसे किसी फॉरेन नेशनल को अपनी कंपनी में एम्प्लॉय करना है, तो उस केस में उसे H1B वीजा की जरूरत पड़ती है। सेकेंडली एल वीजा क्या होता है? तो एल वीजा होता है, यूएस हैज 50 स्टेट्स इन इट, इन 50 स्टेट्स को हम सेपरेटली 50 कंट्रीज बोलते हैं, 50 कंट्रीज हैं यूएस में टोटल, ठीक है? तो अगर एक कंट्री में, मानो वाशिंगटन में एक पर्सन ए है, उसका एक ऑफिस है, राइट? एक कंपनी है उसकी जो कि वाशिंगटन में एग्जिस्ट करती है, एंड उस कंपनी की ब्रांचेस न्यूयॉर्क में है, न्यू जर्सी में है, राइट? तो उसे ये अपने एम्प्लॉयज को एक तरीके से ही हैज टू ट्रांसफर हिज एम्प्लॉयज फ्रॉम द वॉशिंगटन हेड ऑफिस टू द न्यूयॉर्क ब्रांच ऑफिस। तो अगर उसे स्टेट चेंज करना है, इन दीज ट्रांसफर्स, तो उसे एल वीजा की जरूरत पड़ती है, ठीक है? सो एल वीजा इज फॉर इंटरस्टेट ट्रांसफर्स विद इन यूएसए एंड H1B वीजा इज फॉर एन एम्प्लॉयर हु वांट्स टू एम्प्लॉय फॉरेन नेशनल्स इन हिज कंपनी, ठीक है? चलो आगे बढ़ते हैं। कॉन्सुलेट्स, सो यूएस इज प्लानिंग 2 consulates in India, Bengaluru and Ahmedabad. Again, important fact for your prelims. Then apart from this, इंडिया का कॉन्सुलेट यूएस में कहाँ है? सिएटल में है। So we are trying to operationalize this new consulate and we are also planning to open 2 more consulates in US soon. Okay? चलो, now coming on to our next topic, इंडिया यूएसए रिलेटेड है, बट इट इज द डिफेंस स्पेसिफिक रिलेशंस, ठीक है? चलो, लेट्स सी टू इट वंस अगेन। So why is the defense sector in news? During this visit, there were major defense deals also signed between India and US, ठीक है? देखते हैं क्या क्या डिफेंस डील्स हुई है। पहली डील हुई है टू co-produce the GE F414 जेट इंजन which is designed by General Electric and Hindustan Electronics. तो को प्रोड्यूस का मतलब है कि ये जनरल इलेक्ट्रिक इसको प्रोड्यूस करती है, दिस इज अ यूएस बेस्ड कंपनी। तो ये जनरल इलेक्ट्रिक टेक्नोलॉजी ट्रांसफर करेगी टू एचएएल, हिंदुस्तान एरोनॉटिक्स लिमिटेड, और एचएएल इस जेट इंजन को इंडिजिनसली डेवलप करेगी। ठीक है, तो को प्रोडक्शन का मतलब होता है टेक्नोलॉजी ट्रांसफर अग्रीमेंट। ठीक, देख लेते हैं क्या है ये G414 जेट इंजन। टर्बोफैन इंजन है, प्रोड्यूस्ड बाय जनरल इलेक्ट्रिक एंड हैज बीन यूज्ड इन द यूएस नेवी for more than 30 years. 8 nations already have this in operation, and it is used in superior jets like Boeing Super Hornet and EA-18G Growler. No need to remember these things. आपको बस इतना याद रखना है कि इस जेट इंजन की डील हुई है, एक टर्बोफैन इंजन है, यूएस नेवी इसको प्रोड्यूस करती है, and it is produced by the US company. US Navy इसको यूज करती है, produced by the US company General Electric. ठीक है, then India has agreed to procure 31 high altitude long endurance unmanned aerial vehicles named General Atomics MQ-9B drones from the US. तो यहाँ पर क्या है, यहाँ अग्रीमेंट है टू प्रोक्योर, यहाँ टेक्नोलॉजी ट्रांसफर नहीं आ रहा है, यहाँ हम यूएस के बने हुए ड्रोन्स ही लेंगे। इस ड्रोन के दो वेरिएंट्स हैं, स्काई गार्जियन एंड सी गार्जियन, and it can fly over the horizon via satellite for up to 40 hours. Drone can reach a maximum speed of 388 kilometers per hour, and its flying range is around 11,112 kilometers. Important preliminary facts, you must remember it well. Okay, that's US-India Defense Acceleration Ecosystem, INDUS-X was launched. So INDUS-X, India, US, regarding this X. तो यहाँ पर आप कंफ्यूज हो गए कि लाइक एक्स से डिफेंस कहीं मैच नहीं कर रहा है, तो ये जो कोलैबोरेशन है ये किसके लिए है, सिंस इट इज कंफ्यूजिंग तो ये आपको याद रखना है। इंडिया यूएस जो कोलैबोरेशन है इंडस एक्स इज फॉर द डिफेंस इकोसिस्टम। ठीक है, तो क्या है ये इंडस एक्स देख लेते हैं। यूएस डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ डिफेंस एंड द इंडियन मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ डिफेंस हैज लॉन्च्ड द इंडस एक्स। इट एम्स टू एक्सपैंड द स्ट्रेटेजिक टेक्नोलॉजी पार्टनरशिप and defense industrial cooperation between governments, businesses, and academic institutions. Then what will it do is, it will pave the way to enhance connectivity between American and Indian defense startups. It will explore joint opportunities in high-tech defense innovation, research, and development. It will strengthen the bilateral trade relationships and defense establishment linkages, and it will create an Indo-US joint innovation fund for the funding of defense startups. Remember, this is a joint innovation fund to fund the defense startups peculiarly. ठीक है, जैसे इनोवेशन हैंडशेक भी हमने देखा तो वो आईसीईटी को इम्प्लीमेंट करने के लिए है, तो आईसीईटी में डिफेंस स्टार्टअप्स को प्रमोट किया जा रहा है, स्ट्रेटेजिक टेक्नोलॉजी ट्रांसफर स्टार्टअप्स को प्रमोट किया जा रहा है, तो उसी के लिए इनोवेशन हैंडशेक है। ठीक है, then what is the significance of the deal for India? So it will be a boost to the Indian fleet, since India currently uses GE F404 engine procured from the same country, and now HAL will manufacture it on technology transfer. It will be an improved version by the name F414 engine. Then technology transfer, only a handful of countries such as US, Russia, UK, and France have mastered the technology in the defense sector, and 80% of the technology transfer will help India to join this league in future. Then future indigenous developments. So Indian scientists hand and engine will help India in its future indigenous defense developments. Then better understanding of the drone technology, boost the local defense industries and reduce the cost. How will it reduce the cost? Now, introduction of drones will help cut down the use of manned aircrafts that are normally sent for surveillance, and so there will be cut in the time and the cost. Okay? Then coming on to challenges in defense cooperation. The challenges क्या है? सबसे पहला सबसे बड़ा challenge है, that is India's ties with Russia. See, we all know that US and Russia are two opposite blocks of power in the world hegemony. And since we have a very cordial relationship with Russia, and not from today, it is from years back, since independence of India, we have a cordial relation with Russia, and Russia is India's largest defense partner. Okay, so this is one of the apprehensions of US authorities. And apart from this, also, when recently there was the Russia-Ukraine clash, India has been silent on condemning Russia. India hasn't condemned Russia for its act. So that is one of the things that irks the US authorities. Okay. Then India's stand in joining alliances. India has been a part of non-allied movement. India has been the innovator of this movement, according to which it is neither the part of the US bloc nor it is the part of the Russian bloc. Okay? It stands independently all alone in the world hegemony, making it a multipolar world today. Okay? So, since India is not a part of either of the two blocs, apprehensions of India in joining the alliances makes US apprehensive about Indian intentions. Okay? Because recently the US has proposed India to join the NATO plus agreement, but India refused to do so. Right? Then technology transfer, the US defense companies are always reluctant to share their technologies with Indian counterparts or with any counterparts for that matter. Okay? Then US funding to Pakistan. So US has also been still having a strong stand on Pakistan. It is still funding Pakistan for its military requirement and has recently also granted funding for the spares for Pakistan's F-16 fleet. Okay. Then inconsistency in US stance. In the past, the US has held both Pakistan and China and has changed its stance since the 9/11 attacks. The two most heinous neighbors of India, Pakistan and China, are being supported by US regularly. Okay, so that is one of the apprehensions of India. So both of the countries have apprehensions for each other. Way forward, balancing the relationship with Russia and US, developing indigenous defense technologies, and continuing cooperation in the Indo-Pacific region. Why? Because Indo-Pacific region holds important for USA too to counter China. Okay? How does it hold importance? जब हम mains की discussion करेंगे, then I will be discussing this with you. Otherwise, sir will be taking your classes when he will be teaching you international relations. ठीक है? चलो आगे देखते हैं इंडिया यूएस स्पेस रिलेशंस. So now this PM visit has also led to signing of important agreements in the space sector. So first is regarding NASA is going to provide training to Indian astronauts with the goal of mounting a joint effort to the International Space Station in 2024. So ISS is a research station set up in the space, which is headed by USA, but it also includes some other countries. Do write in the comment section what are the other countries included in the ISS. Okay, so USA it has signed an agreement in NASA. The US space agency is going to train Indian astronauts to mount them on the ISS in 2024. Apart from this, India has also signed the US-led Artemis Accord, which aims to establish a common vision via a set of principles, guidelines, and best practices to enhance the governance of civil exploration and the use of outer space. Moving on further, what will be the significance of the Artemis Accord? क्या है आगे अभी देखेंगे, so don't worry about it. Significance of the agreements for India. So first is the push to the Gaganyaan mission. India is planning to send its first manned mission to space in 2024 with the name Gaganyaan. So since US Space Agency is training its astronauts for ISS, then this training will also ensure that the astronauts are well prepared for this Gaganyaan mission. Then next is entry to ISS. So for the first time, Indian astronauts will get entry into the ISS and conduct the research and experiments there. Then entry to the Gateway. What is Gateway? Gateway is an upcoming NASA-led international lunar orbital station for Artemis astronauts. So जैसे कि ISS outer space station है, तो ऐसे ही moon के orbit में lunar orbital station is the moon's orbit. तो moon के orbit में they are planning to set up a orbital station named as Gateway. With NASA providing few seats to the Gateway development contributors, India can also get its berth through the accords and active participation. So NASA is providing few seats in it's a lunar orbital mission named as Gateway. Okay? Again, this terminology is very important fact for your prelims. The next is it will enhance the capabilities of ISRO. Definitely it is going to enhance the capabilities of ISRO because it is going to train its astronauts. Now, what are the challenges that stand in the space cooperation? Is number one is the mismatched interests. So while NASA's ambitions are beyond Earth's orbit, ISRO's ambition lie mostly within the Earth's orbit and building the nation's capabilities in various sectors. So both of them have different interests, both of them had different maneuvers in space, and this can have a kind of clash among them, among the ideas of space in these two countries. Then next is asymmetry in capabilities. So US has the highest number of registered satellites in space, and the SpaceX alone has managed to make 61 launches in a year. Alone in a year in 2022, SpaceX has managed to make 61 launches. SpaceX is a private company, and we are yet to promote private sector in our defense sector, yet to promote private companies in our defense sector, although we are working on it. But it is only this year that we have started working on inviting private sector into the space department, into the space era, into the space technology. Okay, how we are inviting? एक scheme है government की to promote private sector in the space sector. So do write in the comment section what is that scheme. Last year it has made a lot into the news. I hope you all might be knowing about it. Baki document में you will be having that scheme. Here I want you to write it in the comment section if any one of you knows about that scheme. ठीक है, अब बात कर लेते हैं इंडिया की. इंडिया ने अभी तक सिर्फ 60 सैटेलाइट्स लॉन्च की हैं in orbit, and it's yet to make a double-digit launches in a year. Double-digit launches in a year is a very far away thing for ISRO right now. Right, so there are capabilities related asymmetry among the two countries. Then next is the Russian collaboration. See, Russia has been our partner since its first space mission from Aryabhatta to its recent Gaganyaan space mission, and has various MOUs signed with ISRO. A sudden fillip towards NASA will irk the Russian agency as well. Then the next is the financial constraints. While the funding for ISRO is hardly sufficient for its existing program, it will need to widen its funds to suit the demands of a new agreement with NASA. Okay, so these are the challenges. Then अब देख लेते हैं Artemis Accord क्या है. Again, it's an important preliminary fact for you. So the accord was established by US State Department and NASA in 2022. Means the US government and NASA jointly established this accord in 2022. It sets the common principles to govern civil exploration and use of outer space, the moon, Mars, comets, and asteroids for peaceful purposes. Okay? What all are the members of it? So recently India has become its 27th member. So it has in all 27 members till date. These are the members. Continent-wise they are written. They are easy to memorize continent-wise. So you can memorize them from here. You can make certain mnemonics for yourself. Then the signatories are committed to share the national space policies and scientific information results from their activities. They have to implement the MOUs between governmental agencies in accordance with the Outer Space Treaty of 1967. So Outer Space Treaty bans any kind of weaponization of space, placing any kind of military equipments in the space, and it talks about peaceful use of the space resources. Okay, so Outer Space Treaty के accordance पे जितने भी agreements या MOUs हुए हैं governments के बीच में, so they have to comply with all the regulations. All the signatories of Artemis Accord have to comply with all such regulations. Then to preserve the outer space heritage, including historic landing sites and evidence activity of celestial bodies. To mitigate the orbital debris. Debris is basically the waste generated out of the satellites. When the satellites burst in the space, there are smaller pieces that revolve in the space and they create obstructions. Okay, that is the space debris or orbital debris. Okay. So फिर से way forward के topics देख लेते हैं. Induce long-term cooperation, inducing private participation, and voicing for space as a global common, India should abide by the values of the Outer Space Treaty, making space as a global common. Okay, चलो आगे देखते हैं the digital trade relations. So the Computer and Communication Industry Association of US has highlighted the digital trade barriers with India and has flagged India as protectionist in its approach. Okay, so this Industry Association of USA has studied about the digital trade barriers in India, and it has told that there are several digital trade barriers with India, and India is protectionist in its approach regarding the digital regarding the digital ecosystem, right? So let us see what is the current status of the Indo-US digital trade. Okay, so initially we have seen that the bilateral trade between India and US stood at $188.55 billion to approximately $130 billion. Okay? But the digital or the technology services did not emerge as a major factor in this trade. This is an area of concern. The US has a $27 billion deficit in trade in the digital services with India as of 2022. So when we were seeing the Indo-US overview, we have seen that India has a trade surplus with USA. Now, since India has a trade surplus with USA, for USA, it will definitely go the other way around, that USA holds a trade deficit with India in the services sector, especially in the digital services. Okay? So the two countries are improving their technology partnership by an initiative of critical and emerging technologies. Again, the same initiative is repeated. We've seen it earlier. So critical and emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, quantum computing, semiconductors, and wireless telecommunications are dealt with in ICET. Then an MOU was signed between the two states. Again, the same repetition, semiconductor supply chain innovative partnership. Then two joint task force for open RA and network. Then a joint Indo-US quantum coordination. Indo-US Science and Technology Endowment Fund. Again, there's repetition of all these terms. We have talked about it earlier. Now, what are the concerns that are raised by the US tech firms? Number one is the protectionist Indian policy. That is, CCIA has complained that India is deploying various tools to protect its local industries and does not provide an open access for US companies to freely operate and succeed in India. तो इनकी पहली प्रॉब्लम क्या है? ये लोग ये कह रहे हैं कि इंडिया प्रोटेक्शनिस्ट है अपनी अप्रोच में रिगार्डिंग द डिजिटल सर्विसेज. इंडिया क्या करता है? अपनी लोकल इंडस्ट्रीज को प्रमोट करने के लिए अपने आप को एक एनक्लोज्ड एनवायरनमेंट में अलाउ करता है डिजिटल ट्रेडिंग सर्विसेज को वर्क करने में. And in this enclosed environment, it's not easy for these services to prosper in India. ठीक है? देखो इंडिया के अपने challenges हैं. What challenges do India have? Number one, we don't have a data privacy framework. We don't have data regulation in India. ठीक, तो हम ऐसे स्टैंड अप नहीं रख सकते ना अपना डेटा इन फ्रंट ऑफ एनी फॉरेन एजेंसीज, राइट. दूसरी चीज हमारी प्रॉब्लम है दैट आवर लोकल इंडस्ट्रीज हैव बीन सप्रेस्ड सिंस द ब्रिटिश टाइम्स. सो नाउ वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट वोकल फॉर लोकल. क्यों? क्योंकि हमें इंडिजिनस मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर को भी बढ़ाना है, व्हिच वाज नेग्लेक्टेड सिंस इंडिपेंडेंस. ठीक है, तो वी हैव डिफरेंट सेट ऑफ चैलेंजेस. इसकी कभी फिर बात करेंगे व्हेन वी विल बी राइटिंग सम मेंस आंसर राइटिंग सेशंस, व्हेन वी विल बी डूइंग इट टुगेदर, तब हम बात करेंगे इस पर. बट फिलहाल जो प्रोटेक्शनिस्ट इंडियन पॉलिसी है, जो कि इंडिया के अपने कंसर्न्स की वजह से है, उससे यूएस टेक फर्म्स को प्रॉब्लम है. Secondly, है the preferential treatment to Indian companies. CCIA accuses the Indian government over preferential treatment to the local companies and acting against the foreign companies. Again, the same point in a different genome. Then greater government censorship. The group has highlighted that the increasing censorship and control over political speech and state institutions have been employed against the companies. Okay. So government censorship से इनको problem है, because in India government is regulating actually the digital media entities. Then complicated tax structure by the equalization levy. The current equalization levy of 2%, earlier 6%, has charged in the gross revenues received by a non-resident e-commerce operator to the resident Indian amounts to the double taxation and has further complicated the taxation framework. Equalization levy क्या है? देखो इक्वलाइजेशन लेवी बेसिकली ये होता है कि अगर कोई डिजिटल सर्विस या कोई ई कॉमर्स ऑपरेटर इंडिया में अपना बिजनेस कर रहा है लेकिन इसने अपनी फिजिकल स्टैंडिंग मानो सिंगापुर में रख रखी है, ठीक, वाई बिकॉज सिंगापुर इज अ टैक्स हेवन कंट्री, कम टैक्स रेट्स होते हैं वहां पे, तो उसने अपनी फिजिकल प्रेजेंस सिंगापुर में रखी है लेकिन उसका बिजनेस मेजोरिटी में इंडिया में चल रहा है। अब वो इंडिया में सर्विसेज सेक्टर से कमा तो रहा है, ही इज अर्निंग, बट ही इज नॉट पेइंग एनी टैक्स इन इंडिया। Why? Because it is eroding its base where it's working, and again it is evading the taxes and paying it in Singapore instead, where it has a lesser taxation regime. तो गवर्नमेंट ने क्या किया, गवर्नमेंट ने एक इक्वलाइजेशन लेवी लॉन्च किया जिसमें कि ये 2% इक्वलाइजेशन लेवी लगाते हैं हर ई कॉमर्स ऑपरेटर पे जो कि नॉन रेजिडेंट है, जिनका यहाँ पर रेजिडेंस नहीं शो करता है या जिनकी यहाँ फिजिकल प्रेजेंस नहीं शो करती है, तो ऐसे सारे ई कॉमर्स ऑपरेटर्स पे हम इक्वलाइजेशन लेवी लगाते हैं ऑफ 2%। ये क्यों लगाते हैं कि जितना बिजनेस ये इंडिया में कर रहे हैं उस पर इन्हें टैक्स पे करना पड़ेगा। तो इनका कंसर्न है कि दिस इज लीडिंग टू डबल टैक्सेशन, क्योंकि ये अपने जहां पर ये हाउस्ड है ऑलरेडी वहां भी टैक्स दे रहे हैं, अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस जहाँ ये ट्रेड कर रहे हैं इनको वहां भी टैक्स देना पड़ता है, ठीक है। सो दैट इज देयर कंसर्न। अब देखते हैं पॉलिसी कंसर्न्स फॉर डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी इंडस्ट्री इन इंडिया। आ गया वही टॉपिक कि इंडिया की क्या क्या कंसर्न्स हैं जिसके अंडर में इट कैन नॉट ओपन अप एंटायरली टू द डिजिटल इकोसिस्टम, राइट। चलो लेट्स हैव अ लुक ओवर दिस, वेट फॉर अ सेकंड गाइस। यस, सो नाउ लेट अस हैव अ लुक ओवर दिस। तो पहला हमारा जो लेजिस्लेशन है दैट इज द आईटी रूल्स 2021। The court has placed a deadline of 72 hours to take down a flagged content with the government notification of court orders to the social media intermediaries. The social media intermediaries are also required to appoint a local compliance officer. The institution of a 3-member grievance appellate committee to hear user complaints about the decision of SMIs regarding their content related issues and have the power to reverse those decisions. The mighty Ministry of Electronics and IT had made it mandatory for platforms to make efforts to prevent the publication of fake or false news as declared by the Press Information Bureau. So India is protectionist for this one reason, that it tries to prevent any kind of hate speech. Why? Because India is a country which is multicultural and we talk about unity in diversity. So we cannot afford any kind of hate speech. So government has strict compliance and strict regulations for this purpose under the IT rules. Second is the Digital Personal Data Protection Bill. This is a draft bill of 2022. The draft still lacks clarity on the cross-border data flow, compliance timelines, and data localization. Localization requirements tend to increase the operating cost of companies and can be seen as discriminatory by the foreign companies. So data localization talks about storage and processing of data in a same geographical region, ठीक है। मतलब आप स्टोरेज भी वही कर रहे हो, वही आप डेटा की प्रोसेसिंग भी कर रहे हो। तो व्हेन यू गो फॉर डेटा लोकलाइजेशन, सो दिस इज डेफिनेटली गोइंग टू इंक्रीज द ऑपरेटिंग कॉस्ट फॉर द कंपनीज, ठीक है। अब नाउ व्हेन इट इज इंक्रीजिंग द ऑपरेटिंग कॉस्ट फॉर द डोमेस्टिक कंपनीज, दिस विल बी सीन एज डिस्क्रिमिनेटरी बाय द फॉरेन कंपनीज, right? And till date, since we do not have a proper data protection bill, so we cannot allow our data to be processed in some other geographical boundaries, okay? So this is one of the issue. The next is the Telecommunication Bill 2022. The definition of the telecommunication services is to be broadened to include a wide range of internet enabled services that bear resemblance to the telephone and broadband services like the OTT services. So we need to broaden the telecommunication services definition beyond the telephone broadband services. We also need to include the internet enabled services like the OTT platforms. ठीक है, OTT platforms, over the top platforms क्या होते हैं? तो when I have discussed economy in I think section part 1 of the economy videos, I have discussed in detail what are the OTT platforms, इनका regulation क्या है इंडिया में. You can go back and watch it. The CCIA cites that it might cause some burdensome obligations, licensing requirements, and monetary obligations in the sector, right? So now CCIA is countering it with the fact that OTT services पे अगर आप regulation लगा दोगे under the telecommunications heading, so that is going to increase burden on this OTT sector, including the tax compliance as well as the licensing requirements. Moving on further to the Digital Competition Act, proposed to address the anti-competitive practices in the sector. The CCIA refers the move was done to specifically targeting the US big tech companies. Okay, so we have a Digital Competition Act, which is to promote competition and to like prevent the country from the anti-competitive practices. Like we have penalized Google for it, right? So these are some of the jurisdictions and some of the legislations in India that are seen as an hindrance by CCI. Then the Competition Commission of India rulings. The Commission has issued orders explaining how the Android operating system and the Google Play Store should function in India. It can invariably create cybersecurity risks in the applications. Because CCIA already has been CCI Competition Commission of India has already issued the orders in respect to explain how the Android operating systems are dangerous to the entire competition ecosystem. Right? Way forward, ensure secure border data transfer, support startups and innovations, strengthening cybersecurity measures, collaborating on digital standards, and eliminating the red tapeism and excessive censorship. Okay? Common से points है, you can read it all. चलो, नेक्स्ट टॉपिक आता है इंडो यूएस फिनिश हुआ. नेक्स्ट टॉपिक है हमारा आज का इंडिया नेपाल. ओके, सो इंडिया नेपाल ओवरव्यू देखते हैं. इंडिया एंड नेपाल शेयर यूनिक टाइज ऑफ फ्रेंडशिप एंड कोऑपरेशन कैरेक्टराइज्ड बाय एन ओपन बॉर्डर and deep-rooted people-to-people contacts of kinship and culture. Nepal shares a border of over 1850 kilometers with 5 Indian states. Important point once again: Sikkim, West Bengal, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand. Don't remember it in the sequence. You are prone to forget it, right? So let me tell you, this is Nepal. Okay, this is how the Indian map goes. It is over here. That is Uttarakhand. Then इतने पूरे area में आता है आपका UP. Then this is the Bihar region. Then यहाँ से टच होके निकलता है, the West Bengal नीचे निकल जाता है, and then here the Sikkim that touches. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पर हो गया आपका उत्तराखंड, यहाँ पर हो गया UP. This is your Bihar region, this is your West Bengal, and this is your Sikkim. See, any kind of mapping related things if you are learning, you must visualize it well and learn it in that context, in that sequence. ठीक है, इस सीरीज में मत याद करना, chances high होते हैं you will forget it. ठीक, ऐसे याद करो. Then the Indian-Nepal Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1950 forms the bedrock of the special relations that exist between India and Nepal. The Nepalese citizens avail facilities and opportunities on par with the Indian citizens according to the provisions of the treaty. Now, what is the importance of Nepal for India? So first, Nepal has a strategic location just sandwiched between India and China. It's sandwiched between India and China, so it acts as a natural security buffer between the India and China. Then regarding India's internal security, the harmonious relation between the two countries is necessary to curb the terrorism and Maoism since we have an open border with Nepal. Then the security of India aided development projects such as cross-border railways, Pacheshwar multipurpose project, bridges over the Mahakali River, etc. So this Pacheshwar multipurpose project is important. You must know with which country do we have this multipurpose hydroelectric project. Okay. Next is the flood water management and the development of hydropower, people to people connect and empowerment of the Madhesis. What are Madhesis? Madhesis are the residents of the Tarai region in the foothills of the Himalayas on border with India in Bihar to avoid the political spillovers in India. Right? So this we are done with the background of the India-Nepal relations. So coming on further, what has been the news? India and Nepal have recently unveiled several initiatives and agreements during the visit of Prime Minister of Nepal to India. So Prime Minister of Nepal has paid a visit recently to India, जिसमें several agreements and initiatives we have signed together. ठीक है? चलो आगे देखते हैं what have been the initiatives and agreements. Before reading this, again remember that one disclaimer जो कि US से पहले बताया था. Agreements and initiatives में you just need to remember the names and you just need to remember the purposes of this initiatives and with which country you have it. ठीक है? इससे ज़्यादा UPSC नहीं पूछती है in detail until and unless that initiative is making some specific news. Okay? चलो देखते हैं. Both the countries vote to resolve the vexed boundary dispute under the spirit of friendship. क्या boundary dispute है? Regarding the Mahakali River. Regarding the Kali River or the Mahakali River. Dispute है नेपाल और इंडिया में, so that they have a vote to resolve it with the spirit of friendship. क्या dispute है? In detail इस पर एक वीडियो बना देंगे when we will be dealing with the IR section. ठीक है? Inauguration of the twin integrated check posts in Rupai-Diha in India and Nepalganj in Nepal. ठीक है? तो integrated check post बनाए हैं हमने in Rupai-Diha in India and Nepalganj in Nepal. Various MOUs were signed for the development of Dodhara Chandni checkpost along Indian-Nepal border, development of Pukot-Karnali hydroelectric project. Again, these names are important for you. Cross-border payments, laying the second cross-border petroleum pipeline between Siliguri in India and Chhapa in Nepal. So, cross-border petroleum pipelines we are laying down. इसमें कि we are also laying down pipelines in Nepal. This will be connecting Siliguri from West Bengal in India to Jhapa in Nepal. Extension of the Motihari Amleganj pipeline to Chitwan in Bihar. ठीक है? ठीक. तो ये सारे प्रोजेक्ट्स के नाम आपको पता होने चाहिए for your prelims perspective. Power sector. First, trilateral power trade from Nepal to Bangladesh via India for up to 40 megawatts of power. Again, it's important because it's first of its kind initiative. ठीक है? तो पहला trilateral power trade we are planning to build from Nepal to Bangladesh via India for up to 40 megawatts of power transfer. ठीक है? Then Treaty of Transit, the revised Treaty of Transit that would provide Nepal access to the inland waterways of India. India has 5 networks of the national waterways or inland waterways. Jab geography se sir will be dealing, he will be teaching you in detail all these inland waterways and how they are connected. ठीक है? ये important fact है regarding your prelims. But फिलहाल के लिए I want you guys to write in the comment section what are the 5 national waterways that India has. Recently एक waterway पे एक extension भी build किया गया है. So do write in the comment section if you know about these news. वरना जब static cover होगा we'll be covering it. बाकी वो जो short document will be provided उसमें सारा material will be there. Then hydropower cooperation project development agreement of Lower Arun hydroelectric project. Then connectivity, a line of credit of $680 million by India to fund 3 major transmission corridors in Nepal to Beri corridor, Nijgarh to Inarua corridor, Gandak to Nepalganj corridor. India to fund and build 2 additional bridges across the Mahakali River. Inaugural run of the cross-border freight rail operations between Bhatnaha in India and Nepal Custom Yard on Jogbani Viratnagar railway. Handing over of Kurtha Bijalpura rail section of Jayanagar Kurta passenger rail link to Nepal. All these factual data आपको याद रखने हैं, right? Then coming on to major areas of engagement between India and Nepal. So economic cooperation, India is the largest trading partner of Nepal and the highest source of FDI to Nepal. The bilateral trade has crossed $7 billion in financial year 2019-20. Connectivity and development partnerships. So India has been assisting Nepal in development of border infrastructure through upgradation of roads, development of cross-border rail links, and increasing the overall economic assistance. Multilateral cooperation such as BBIN, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India and Nepal corridor, BIMSTEC, Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation, NAM and SAP. So these are some of the international cooperations in which India and Nepal are together. सबको यहाँ in detail discuss करने का time नहीं है. Document में I'll be providing about each and every organization the important material that you need to remember. And apart from this, when sir will be dealing with IR, he will be teaching you each and every body in detail. Okay. Then coming on to defense cooperation. So India assists in modernizing Nepal army through equipment supply and training recruitment of Nepalese soldiers in the Gorkha regiments. So we are providing equipment supply and training to the Gorkha regiments of the Indian Army. In Gorkha regiments, we have basically the Nepalese soldier, these Madhesi soldiers. Okay. Joint military exercises, we have Surya Kiran and disaster assistance exercises. Coming on to energy cooperation, India and Nepal have a power exchange agreement since 1971 for meeting the power requirements in the border areas. South Asia's first cross-border petroleum products pipeline, constructed and funded by Indian Oil Corporation, connecting Mathari in India to Amlekganj in Nepal, was inaugurated in 2019. So now we are planning the second cross-border petroleum pipeline. पहली हमारी मोतीहारी from Bihar in India to Amlekganj in Nepal थी, and now we are planning a second pipeline which is between Siliguri in West Bengal in India and Jhapa in Nepal. ठीक है? Got the facts? Then next is hydropower cooperation. India and Nepal recently signed an MOU to develop a West Seti and Seti River projects, and also agreed to take forward the Saptakosi High Dam project on the Kosi River. West Seti River is a tributary of the Karnali River located in far western region of Nepal. The other projects include the Mahakali Treaty, the Upper Karnali project, the Arun 3 project in western and eastern Nepal respectively. You very well need to memorize these names because you must know that what kind of hydropower treaty we are having with which country. Culture related collaboration. The Swami Vivekananda Center for Indian Culture was set up in Kathmandu to showcase the best of Indian culture. Then India International Center for Buddhist Culture and Heritage was inaugurated in Lumbini, Nepal. Right? We have cultural ties over here also because of Lord Buddha. Buddha was born in Lumbini. Right? So we have set up an Indian International Center for Buddhist Culture. Now, what are the major issues we have with Nepal? So the ties between the two countries came under severe strain after Kathmandu published a new political map in 2020 that showed the three Indian territories, Limpiadura, Kalapani and Lipulekh as the part of Nepal. क्या है ये dispute? We'll be dealing with it in detail when we'll be dealing with the IR. ठीक है? जब IR static portion से deal करेंगे तब ये border dispute देख लेंगे. फिलहाल के लिए you must know about these names. Then China's influence. China has increased its economic engagement with Nepal through the projects like Belt and Road Initiative, BRI. See, BRI is a kind of connectivity initiative of China. Okay, it includes both the road network, the rail network as well as waterways network. ठीक, जिसके अंडर में वो कनेक्टिविटी बिल्ड कर रहा है थ्रू आउट नेशन. उसके अंडर में उसने नेपाल से एक हेवी एंगेजमेंट किया है. Also, there are concerns over the Chinese interference in the Nepal's politics. Then there is trust gap between Nepal and Indian politicians. Why? Because first, India's slow pace of project implementation, and secondly, there is an alleged perception of India's interference in the Nepal politics. And there are security issues. Why? Because we have porous borders, so it facilitates the arms smuggling, terrorist activities, flow of counterfeit Indian currency, and thus building a good connectivity between two areas which have porous borders can be a problem to India, right? Then Gorkha issues, relations came under strain when Nepal government blocked the recruitment of Nepalese Gorkha for the Indian Army Gorkha Regiment, claiming that the Agnipath scheme violated the 1947 tripartite agreement signed between the two countries and the UK. तो अभी जब गवर्नमेंट अग्निपथ स्कीम लेकर आया तो नेपाली सोल्जर्स को आर्मी के गोरखा रेजिमेंट में एंट्री देने से नेपाल गवर्नमेंट ने मना किया था. Why? Because it thought that this अग्निपथ scheme was violative of the 1947 tripartite agreement. क्योंकि अग्निपथ स्कीम में क्या होता है कि अग्निपथ स्कीम में there's certain year of service जिसके बाद आप परमानेंट रिक्रूट होते हो. ठीक है, ये एक तरह से टेम्परेरी ईयर ऑफ सर्विस होती है एंड इट्स अप टू यू इफ यू आर गेटिंग इनटू परमानेंट रिक्रूटमेंट. ठीक, आफ्टर लीविंग दिस टेम्परेरी रिक्रूटमेंट यू कैन गो इनटू एनी काइंड ऑफ प्रोफेशन. सो दे कंसिडर कि नेपालीज जो गोरखा तैयार किए जाते हैं दे आर पर्टिकुलरली द सोल्जर्स ओनली. So it will not be reliable for them, or it will not be feasible for them to join some other occupation post leaving the defense training. Okay, so that was their concern. Then next is connectivity issues. Despite several requests from Nepal, India refused to open more air routes to Nepal as it requires opening up India's airspace close to its border with China. So since Nepal has been making since long appeals or requests to India to open more air routes to Nepal, but India is apprehensive of doing so. Why? Because Nepal has a direct border with China. So we do not want our air routes to be open to China, right? Treaty of Peace and Friendship 1950, India's lackadaisical approach for Nepal's request to revise the 1950 Friendship Treaty is an irritant in the relationship. Coming on to way forward, again the same things, emphasizing on digital connectivity initiatives, bilateral mechanisms needed to discuss contentious issues. Multilateral platforms should be utilized to serve the common interests, just climate change, disaster management, regional security, etc. Sustained engagement and limited interference by India and Nepal's politics. Enhanced air connectivity, which is crucial for Nepal's economy. Revising the Friendship Treaty and organizing joint cultural events, film festivals, and wellness retreats to showcase India's rich heritage to influence public opinion. Right? So done with this topic. Moving further, with China's rising influence in the Central Asia. So why in news? China recently hosted the C+C5 summit in the city of Xi'an, the first of its kind, with the leaders of 5 Central Asian countries. So the concern is the C+C5 summit. For the first time in the city of Xi'an, China has conducted this summit, and it included the leaders of 5 Central Asian countries. Let us see what is more on news. The Xi'an Declaration was signed, which issued a blueprint for the future development of China-Central Asian relations. So Xi'an Declaration is related to China and Central Asia. C+C5 means C for China and C5 are the 5 countries of Central Asia. Write down in the comment section what are the countries that include Central Asia. How many countries include Central Asia and what are the countries? Write down with their names in the capitals. However, it's given in the map down. Names in capitals. Capitals aren't given over here. So you write down in the comment section what are the names of the capitals. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 Central Asian countries. This form the part of the Central Asian republics. Okay? The leaders also focused on people-to-people exchanges, a cultural Silk Road program, and issues of regional terrorism and extremism. The first C+C5 China plus 5 Central Asian countries was held in a virtual format last year. to commemorate the 30th anniversary of diplomatic relations between China and Central Asian countries. China has been investing heavily in Central Asia through its BRI, and the relationship with the region was institutionalized through the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization is a group of countries, a group of basically 9 countries, ठीक है, जिस 9 में से 5 ये सेंट्रल एशियन रीजन की कंट्रीज है, एक है आपका चाइना, सिंस इट हैज शंघाई इन इट्स नेम, चाइना। इंडिया भी एससीओ का पार्ट है, इंडिया। इसके अलावा 2 इस्लामिस्ट कंट्रीज हैं, ईरान एंड पाकिस्तान, ठीक है। दिस इज हाउ यू कैन इजीली रिमेंबर व्हाट आर द 9 कंट्रीज इन एससीओ। सो ये है वो 9 कंट्रीज, 5 ये सीएआर रीजन की, एक चाइना, एक इंडिया एंड 2 ईरान एंड पाकिस्तान, ओके। तो एससीओ का जो फॉर्मेट है, क्योंकि एससीओ इज द ओनली इंटरनेशनल या मल्टीलेटरल प्लेटफॉर्म जहां पर चाइना इज कोऑपरेटिंग विद दिस सेंट्रल एशियन रीजन, ठीक। सो इट हैज स्ट्रेंथेंड विद द एससीओ। Now, what are the implications of rising influence of China in Central Asia? Let's see. First is the geopolitical competition. China's presence and leverage in India's neighboring region. Central Asian region is the neighboring region to India. However, direct borders do not meet, but it is next to Pakistan and Afghanistan region. Okay? So, in India's neighboring region, China's presence will impact India's strategic interest and limits its influence in the region. Post the Taliban takeover, the Central Asian region has emerged as a geopolitical arena where the great contestations for influence are unfolding between countries like Russia, China, US, Turkey, Iran, Europe, EU, etc. Since the Central Asian region shares direct borders, as you can see, with Afghanistan, तो ये सेंट्रल एशियन रीजन बेसिकली मेन हेजेमनी ऑफ पावर बन रहा है जब से कि तालिबान ने टेक ओवर किया है ऑन अफगानिस्तान। To counter this Taliban, the major powers like Russia, US, UK are trying to have an influence over this Central Asian region. And if in case China has an influence over it, it will, in an opposite move, it will actually promote Taliban and the terrorist activities. Okay? Then create an economic competition for India. China is presently the Central Asia's largest trading partner, while India's combined trade with Central Asia, already only around $2 billion, is very less than what is China's $32 billion. Then connectivity and infrastructure. China's BRI, which includes projects such as CPEC, China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, could affect India's efforts to enhance its own connectivity with Central Asia and limit its access to the region. China's influence may affect India's ability to foster closer ties with these countries through initiatives like the INSTC. So INSTC एक तरह का एक transit corridor बना रही है India with this Central Asian region via Afghanistan. ठीक है? This is a kind of transport transit corridor. Then security concerns. The growing Chinese presence may impact the regional security dynamics. And then energy security. The region is crucial for India's energy security. Growing Chinese influence might hinder India's prospects for securing energy from the world, as Kazakhstan is the world's largest producer of uranium. आगे है ना कोई critical and emerging technologies वाला point. And Turkmenistan has huge reserves of natural gas. ठीक है? Again, important preliminary point. Now, what are the challenges in India and Central Asian region relations? तो पहली चीज आती है हमारी poor connectivity. We are building INSTC corridor for the same. Limited resources. India's resource constraints, especially financial, can limit its ability to actively engage with the Central Asian countries simultaneously. Then the regional conflicts. Political instability and security concerns in certain Central Asian countries, such as narco-terrorism and regional conflicts, can impact the India's engagement. Now, let us see initiatives क्या लिए हैं इंडिया ने for the CAR region. Improving connectivity via Chabahar Port, faster development of INSTC, and a Ashgabat agreement and the Tapi pipeline. Okay. All of these are standalone important topics. We'll be covering them जब static IR करेंगे. और फिलहाल अभी के लिए क्योंकि यहाँ डिस्कस करना already this video is going to be significantly long. तो यहाँ डिस्कस करने की जगह जो डॉक्यूमेंट आई विल बी प्रोवाइडिंग यू, आई विल बी प्रोवाइडिंग each and every detail in that document that you need to remember for this maths. Nothing else apart from that document you will need to study. Okay. Connect Central Asia Policy 2012. It is a broad based framework involving political, economic, security, and cultural connections. India recently hosted the first India Central Asia Summit. Then there's a commitment to the extended neighborhood policy. It calls to diversify the India's geopolitical partners and diplomatic goals and its willingness to engage its Central Asian partners on a multitude of fronts. Bilateral engagements. We have already signed the strategic partnership agreements with Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and a civil nuclear agreement with Kazakhstan. India's international technical and economic cooperation program attracts young professionals for capacity building. Then multilateral organizations, platforms like SCO and Conference on International Interaction and Confidence Building Measures in India have helped India to maintain regular channels of communications with the Central Asian regions. Developmental assistance, the $1 billion line of credit announced by India is aimed at high-impact development projects for socio-economic development of the region. So we are focusing on a kind of soft power. Okay? Way forward for India, again, the same point, soft power diplomacy, focus on economic relations, connectivity. There have been suggestions that India should provide connectivity for people and trade in Central Asia through air corridors that it has done for Afghanistan. Okay. Then exploring the other sectors like IT, pharma, textiles, higher education, space, SMEs, power generation, and food processing, agriculture present rich potential for deeper engagement. Right. So now let us move further to our next topic. What is our next topic? It's the role of India's defense cooperation initiatives in meeting the foreign policy goals. Okay, Chalo. Let's see what this topic is all about. Okay, so let us see why is this in news, that how the defense cooperation initiatives of India are working in its foreign policy goals, right? So the news is that India has recently gifted the indigenously built-in service missile corvette INS Kirpan to Vietnam. Again, an important preliminary fact for you. What are the foreign policy's important goals? These are some of the very common points. Engage and protect Indian diaspora, for protecting India from traditional and non-traditional threats, then to ensure that India's voice is heard on global forums, and to create an external environment conducive to India's inclusive development, right? So these are some of the very common pointers you might be knowing, nothing much to explain over there. And let us talk about more what is in the news regarding it. Experts point out that India has expanded its activities of military cooperation, humanitarian assistance, contribution to UN peacekeeping forces, etc. in the recent times. Currently, India has defense cooperation agreements with over 53 countries. So, Defense Production and Export Promotion Policy 2020, released by the Ministry of Defense, targets an increase in export of aerospace and defense goods and services. This type of defense cooperation is termed as the defense diplomacy. That is, we are trying to make diplomatic relations on the basis of defense ties. Okay. It means establishing cooperation in strategic arenas and facilitating a collective strategy of armed forces to advance the mutual interest. For instance, increase in the joint military exercises with the friendly countries, for example, the UPSC with the USA, and constructive participation in the international forums such as regional anti-terrorist structures. Disaster management and humanitarian relief, for example, we launched Operation Dost to help earthquake-hit Turkey, and Syria. By this, India seeks to forward its foreign policy goals. So it is a kind of implementation of soft power on foreign policy by means of hard power. ठीक, हार्ड पावर इक्विपमेंट्स को हम सॉफ्ट पावर के वे में यूज करते हैं, राइट? मिलिट्री इक्विपमेंट्स के फॉर्म में वी आर मेकिंग लिंकेजेस विद द कंट्री. So linkages between the defense cooperation and foreign policy. First of all, it talks about the security and stability. The defense cooperation plays a crucial role in achieving security and stability, which are vital objectives of the foreign policy. Then talking about globalization, the scope of international trade, finance, and communication is influenced by external factors like cryptocurrencies, shell companies, etc., which are usually beyond the control of the national governments. Okay. Then regarding terrorism, it has emerged as one of the primary threats to domestic and international security and has ushered in great convergence in security perceptions among the nations. Then the role of training service. A number of senior officers of the three services, past and present, in many developing countries have been trained in India. For example, YB Tun Hussein bin On from Malaysia rose to the position of Prime Minister of Malaysia. Okay, so this is how the defense cooperation is helping foster the foreign policies. Okay, an officer that has been trained with Indian services, with Indian defense services, has rose to become the Prime Minister of Malaysia. So this will promote definitely friendly relations with Malaysia for the time being. This person is the Prime Minister. Okay, so this is how defense cooperation is helping out things. Then regarding power politics, the international stature and the role of a country in the international system has a positive correlation with its military strength. So with the military strength, as strong a country will be militarily, the more strong will be its international stature or standing and the role that that country plays in the international system. Okay. Then next is the benefits of defense cooperation to foreign policy. So what are the benefits? Number one, enhancement of regional stability. Again, a common point. Then strengthening relations. It will strengthen the relations between the countries. Capacity building of the armed forces. Boost to the domestic defense industry. Research and development and confidence building. To develop the cooperative relations, promote military transparency, reduce misperceptions and common interest. बहुत generalist points है, not much to be discussed over here. ठीक है, main relevant points है ये. You can just go through them. Then challenges for defense cooperation to achieve policy goals. So first is defense cooperation is being implemented country-wise rather than outlining any uniform principles. ठीक है. तो फॉरेन पॉलिसी गोल्स के लिए हमने क्या किया है, हम कोई हार्ड एंड फास्ट सिस्टम नहीं लगाते व्हेन वी कम टू डिफेंस कोऑपरेशन, राइट? सो वी मेक इट कंट्री स्पेसिफिक. वी मेक डिफेंस कोऑपरेशन स्पेसिफिक टू रशिया, स्पेसिफिक टू यूएस, स्पेसिफिक टू चाइना. वी डोंट हैव एनी यूनिफॉर्म प्रिंसिपल टू वर्क ऑन इट. ठीक है. Second thing, the problem in the defense cooperation to achieve foreign policy goals is the assertiveness of China in the neighborhood, right? China is extremely active in its defense cooperation with several countries. So the countries which we are inviting for defense cooperation might be in a better position with China, right? Third is only a few Indian embassies have defense wings when compared to countries like US and UK. So only few Indian embassies have defense wing as compared to US embassies or UK embassies, which almost all of them have defense wings in their embassies. Then lack of coordination between the ministries and departments involved in the defense cooperation. And moreover, the largest or the greatest concern is the low defense spending. That is just 2% of the nation's GDP is going on to defense even up to 2022-2023, right? Coming on to way forward, these are again the generalist points: formation of policy guidelines, requirement of specialists, annual audit of the activities conducted, integrated planning, strengthening relations with the neighborhood countries, right? इनके अंदर का जो मटेरियल है दैट इज वेरी जनरलिस्ट मटेरियल, यू कैन राइट इट ऑन योर ओन इवन. ठीक, बस ये हेड्स आपको याद रखने होते हैं, तो राइट इन योर मेंस आंसर राइटिंग. चलो नेक्स्ट चीज देखते हैं 75 years of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR. So this Universal Declaration of Human Rights is basically a human rights document which can be termed as the world's first human rights document and one of the most holistic human rights documents of the world. Right? So it has several pointers under it. It has several aspects under it. Even our fundamental rights, fundamental duties, and the DPSPs, all three of them are inspired out of human rights. Okay, because it talks about the rights as well as duties of the state. Okay, चलो देखते हैं why it is in use, because it has completed 75 years. The year-long Human Rights 75 initiative will culminate in December 2023, making 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Border News, the 2023 theme is Dignity, Freedom and Justice for All. This theme is important for your prelims perspective. Objective of Human Rights 75 initiative, contribute to the change and concrete progress in the ground on promise of freedom, equality, justice, and accountability. Change and concrete progress on the grounds of freedom, equality, justice, and accountability. Okay. Human Rights 75 initiative has basically three goals: promoting universality and indivisibility, looking to the future, and bolstering the human rights ecosystem. So these are the three goals of Human Rights 75 initiative. Some of the rights under the Human Rights Declaration, you can see to it. UNHCR के regarding में you should firstly remember कि इसमें fundamental rights वाले principles भी हैं, इसमें citizen की duties भी given है, and इसमें state की duties भी given है. ठीक है? Agar if a statement based question comes in a way that you are asked to eliminate what all is not included in the UDHR, so UDHR is an overall holistic rights related document which includes provisions regarding the fundamental rights as well as the fundamental duties as well as the DPSPs. All three of them of the Indian Constitution are inspired from UDHR basically. ठीक है? चलो आगे बढ़ते हैं. Human rights and UNDR. These universal rights are inherent to all, regardless of nationality, sex, national or ethnic origin, color, religion, language, or any other status. They range from the most fundamental, the right to life, to those that make life worth living, such as the right to food, education, work, health, and liberty. Universal Declaration of Human Rights was adopted by UN General Assembly in 1948. Was the first legal document to be set out the fundamental human rights to be universally protected. So it was adopted by the UN General Assembly in 1948, and it was the first legal document setting up universal protection for the fundamental human rights. Now, an important point over here is UNHDR is not legally binding, right? You need to remember it's not a document that is legally binding, although it's a very important document. So it outlines in all 30 rights and freedoms that belongs to all. So Universal Declaration of Human Rights, along with its two covenants, the International Covenant for Civil and Political Rights and the International Covenant for Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, make up the International Bill of Rights. So what does this statement say? Wait for a second. Okay, so what does this statement say is that there are three documents named as Universal Declaration of Human Rights, International Covenant for Civil and Political Rights, and International Covenant for Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. All these three documents together make up the International Bill of Rights. Okay, so ये difference है between International Bill of Rights and Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So UDHR is a part of International Bill of Rights, but International Bill of Rights is not a part of UDHR. Okay. Then moving further, significance of UDHR: strengthening human rights, strengthening citizens, and universal recognition. Again, very common points, not need to be discussed much. Related news देख लेते हैं. June 2023 marked the 30th anniversary of the Vienna Declaration and Program of Action. About Vienna Declaration and Program of Action, it is a human rights declaration adopted by the consensus, the World Conference on Human Rights in 1993 in Vienna, Austria. It paved a common plan for the strengthening of human rights work as well as the establishment of the Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights. It affirmed the universality, indivisibility, and interdependency of human rights, and the declaration reaffirms the principles of Universal Declaration on Human Rights. So this Vienna Declaration was basically not adopted by UN or anything. It is adopted by the World Conference on Human Rights that was held in 1993 in Austria. Okay? It talks about setting up an office of High Commissioner for Human Rights, which would be an internationally placed office. Okay. Moving further, looking into the mechanism to promote the human rights. So there are certain major conventions regarding human rights. Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. Convention on the Rights of Child. Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities. 1951 Refugee Convention and its 1967 Protocol. All of these conventions are standalone important topics for UPSC. However, since I've already told you, all these important relevant data and information will be provided in the document I'll be handing over to you. And here it's not possible to discuss each and everything because already this video is going to be a long one. Okay, we are covering 2 sections over there. Sure. Human Rights Council. It is tasked with strengthening the promotion and protection of human rights around the globe. Then there is human rights in the UN system. Human rights is a cross-cutting theme in all UN policies and programs. For example, the SDGs. Then UN Peacekeeping Force, then the responsibility to protect. It is an international norm that seeks to ensure that the international community never fails to halt the mass atrocity crimes of genocide, war crimes, ethnic cleansing, and crimes against humanity. Then national human rights institutions, for example, the National Human Rights Commission of India. This is the framework that is applied to work towards human rights. Okay, starting from certain major conventions to the Human Rights Council. This is an International Human Rights Council, and then there are National Level Human Rights Council. And there is UN system that is protecting the UN Peacekeeping Force, and the responsibility to protect that is an international agenda among the nation states. Then what are the challenges to human rights? So poverty is one of the greatest challenges. As per UNDP's Human Development Report, 1.1 billion out of 6.1 billion people live in acute multidimensional poverty across 110 countries. And climate change is another challenge. As of 2022, at least 8.7 million people in 80 countries and territories were living in internal displacement as a result of disasters that happened not only in 2022 but also in the previous years. Wars, conflict, and terrorism is one of the problems. Food insecurity is one of the problems. Women's rights is one of the problems. So as per World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Report, it will take 132 years to reach gender parity. Then racial, ethnic, and religious hatred, then LGBTQ+ rights, and the violence by the authoritarian regimes. Right? These are all the issues in implementation of UDHR. Way forward, again the same things: protecting and empowering individuals, building resilient, inclusive, and democratic societies, safeguarding fundamental freedoms, promoting a global system, collective responsibility, human rights education. You can just read over there. Means relevant है. Yeah, क्योंकि I'm rushing through these areas. The reason is that mains में आपको इतना याद नहीं रहने वाला है. In case at all you are mugging it up also. ठीक, अगर आप मगअप कर भी रहे हो याद नहीं रहने वाला है, so it's of no relevancy. एक बार पढ़ लो, have an idea over it. Apart from it, you don't need anything from here. ठीक है, the document I'll be providing even the mains relevant material for you. आपको दोबारा से इस मैगजीन को resort नहीं करना है. Okay, चलो अब आ जाते हैं, probably ये last topic है शायद of the major news of IR. This is UNESCO. Again, a very important topic for UPSC because UPSC is very much interested in UN, its related organs, and its specialized agencies. UNESCO forms basically an organ of, it is a specialized agency. It is not the organ. UN has 5 organs. UNESCO एक specialized agency. ECOSOC है शायद. ECOSOC is one of the organs. UNESCO is a specialized agency. Okay. Sure. Let's move further. United States formally rejoined the UNESCO after a 5-year absence by proposing to pay its due of more than $600 million. Okay, so let's begin with talking about UNESCO a little bit. Paris, France में headquarter है इसका. Specialized agency है UN की. Established in 1945, function है to contribute to peace and security by promoting international cooperation in education, sciences, culture, communication, and information. Then the objectives are attaining quality education for all, lifelong learning, addressing emerging social and ethical challenges, etc. Membership 194 countries, 11 associate members. Composition is a secretariat headed by the Director General, implements the decision of General Conference and the Executive Board. Awards related to UNESCO are the UNESCO Asia Pacific Awards for Cultural Heritage and Conservation Program, awarded to private individuals and organizations. Again, an important preliminary fact. The UNESCO Felix Houphouët-Boigny Peace Prize, awarded to living individuals, active institutions for promoting. Again, an important thing to be remembered for your prelims. Other key information, it is also a member of the United Nations Sustainable Development Groups. 3 UNESCO member states are not the UN members: Cook Islands, New and Palestine. तो 3 यूनेस्को के ऐसे members भी हैं जो कि UN के members नहीं है, like the Cook Islands, New and Palestine. And there are 3 UN member states that are not the member of UNESCO. What are those 3 UN member states? Israel, Liechtenstein, and United States. Okay, so now we'll see what are the disputes between US and UNESCO. Why did US leave UNESCO in 2018? So in 2011, US halted the agency's funding in retaliation to the induction of Palestine as a member in UNESCO. So since UNESCO has admitted Palestine as one of its member, so US has halted the funding that was going to UNESCO from USA. In 2013, the US lost its voting rights. Why? Because it had non-payment of dues over it. Because ने funding रोक दी थी. So because of non-payment of dues, US had been lost its voting rights in this body. Then in 2017, citing the bias and naming of ancient Jewish sites as Palestinian heritage sites, the US announced its withdrawal from the body for the second time, which came into effect by the end of 2018. Even earlier also, in 1984, US has pulled out from UNESCO, citing mismanagement, corruption, and advanced Soviet interests. Later, it rejoined in 2003. It again left in 2013, and then in 2017, again citing the issue like an ancient Jewish site was named by the UNESCO in the name of a Palestinian heritage site. So in this bias, US had again left in 2008. Now, why is US to rejoin this organization? First is to assert US soft power. Okay, culture is the soft power of a country. Then to challenge the Chinese influence, China has replaced the US as the largest funder to UNESCO and has started asserting its influence. So that is again apprehensive to US. Then to impart its role in the new standards, UNESCO through its role in science and technology plays a large part in setting ethical standards of the UN. Okay. So in standard setting, if USA is not a part of UNESCO, then it will be eliminated from the standard settings of UN. चलो जल्दी से देख लेते हैं what is the admission procedure to UNESCO. This is an important point क्योंकि membership related questions आए हैं both for UNGA, UN Security Council and for UNESCO as well as for UN ECOSOC. ठीक है, इन सारी bodies के membership are very important. So admission to UNESCO, a membership of UN carries with it the right to membership of UNESCO. So once a person, a country is a member of UN, it automatically becomes eligible to be a member of UNESCO. States that are not the member of UN may be admitted to UNESCO upon the recommendation of an executive board by a 2/3 majority vote of the General Conference of the General Assembly. The territories that are not responsible for the conduct of their international relations are to be admitted as associate members. So the territories whose international relations are undertaken by some different territorial jurisdictions, they are added as associate members. Their admission and their rights and obligations are determined by the General Conference, मतलब UN General Assembly. ठीक है? चलो. Seeing to the next points, issues faced by UNESCO. What are the issues that UNESCO is facing? First of all, there is a mismatch in member priorities. So each member of UNESCO has its own country-specific priorities. ठीक, उनकी अपनी foreign policy priorities होती है, अपने political agendas होते हैं, and अपने perceptions होते हैं about how an organization should work. Regarding financial woes, the withdrawal of US alone accounted to the loss of 20% funding to the body, which has moved it away from its targeted goals. So financial constraints हैं इसके पास, mismatch in member priorities है, reduced focus on education. The allocation for education was reduced from 18% to 15% of its overall budget. Again, ये इसी का एक spillover effect है क्योंकि finances कम है, so it is moving its priority. Then inability to protect and preserve the World Heritage Sites. So the procedural and practical issues that organization faces has led to destruction of sites like Bamiyan Buddhas of Afghanistan. Then the selection process of World Heritage Sites, the local government should propose the name for it to be included in the list, and the Heritage Committee and body does not have its own procedure for inclusion of a site. Okay, so they do not have their own standard procedure or their own standard guidelines based on which they're admitting sites into the World Heritage Site list, right? How they're admitting is the local government themselves are suggesting their sites to be admitted. Then rising Chinese influence. With the absence of USA, China is indirectly pushing UNESCO to support vocational and job training programs in countries, partnering with it on its Belt and Road Initiative. Okay, so China is a threat in every IR related issue, right? चलो, way forward में वही सारी चीजें, more contribution should come from developed countries. US cannot show this amount of irresponsible behavior. Revamp in the selection process of the heritage site. The heritage committee should also push itself away from the country's submissions pertaining to heritage site selection and structure its own team to find such sites across the globe. Strengthening the governance structure and enhanced partnership and collaboration. Okay. अब न्यूज एंड शॉर्ट्स है, इससे पहले अचीवमेंट्स देख लेते हैं एक बार यूनेस्को के. UNESCO preserves 1,157 World Heritage Sites in 167 countries, and the UNESCO designated sites represent 10 million square kilometers. The Intangible Heritage Convention has 177 state parties to it. UNESCO's Education for All initiative has contributed to significant progress in global education. Education for All initiatives of UNESCO. Media development indicators developed by UNESCO provide a framework to assess media landscapes and support policies that promote pluralistic and independent media. A separate list of World Heritage in danger is maintained by the World Heritage Committee, and special attention is provided to retrieve them. Right, so with this we are done with the IR major topics. अब news and shorts से एक बार देख लेते हैं thoroughly, फिर culture करते हैं. Okay. News and shorts में first है India Egypt. Why news? Indian Prime Minister recently visited Egypt. We have signed a strategic partnership agreement which was conveyed earlier in Jan 2023 during the Egypt's president visit to India. Both the governments signed 3 MOUs on agriculture, archaeology and antiquities, and the competition law. Indian PM was conferred with the Order of Nile Award, which is the country's highest state honor. The PM also visited Heliopolis Commonwealth War Grave Cemetery and the Al Hakim Mosque in Egypt. So India, Egypt, why was it news? Because recently PM visited Egypt and we have signed a strategic partnership agreement which was fructified, which was structured when Egypt's president visited to India in Jan 2023. 3 MOUs साइन करे हैं हमने किस किस फील्ड में, एग्रीकल्चर में, आर्कियोलॉजी एंड एंटिक्विटी में और कंपटीशन लॉ में. ठीक है. ऑर्डर ऑफ नाइल अवार्ड दिया गया है टू द प्राइम मिनिस्टर. ऑर्डर ऑफ नाइल अवार्ड क्या है? एस्टैब्लिश्ड इन 1915 by the then Sultan of Egypt for the recognition of persons who have rendered useful services to the country. It is considered as the highest state honor. Then the Heliopolis Commonwealth War Grave Cemetery. The cemetery in Cairo comprises of the Heliopolis Memorial and the Heliopolis Aden Memorial. It commemorates the sacrifice of nearly 4,300 Indian soldiers who fought for Egypt and Palestine and Aden, respectively, in World War I. In World War I, Indian soldiers were fighting towards the British Crown. Al Hakim Mosque is the 4th oldest mosque in Egypt and the 2nd largest after mosque of Ibn Tulun. People of Bohra community who is settled in India from Egypt renovated the mosque in 1970 and have been maintaining it since. Dawoodi Bohra Muslims are a sect of followers of Islam who adhere to the Fatimi Ismaili Tayyibi school of thought which has originated from Egypt. They settled in India in the 11th century and the seat of the sect was moved to Siddhpur, Gujarat in 1539 from Yemen. These are some important facts that you need to remember. I don't think there's nothing required to be explained over here. Second topic is 75 years of UN peacekeeping. So UNESCO has also completed its 75 years and UN peacekeeping is also completing its 75th anniversary. So recently the 75th anniversary of the beginning of UN peacekeeping was celebrated. Theme was Peace Begins With Me. Ceremony was held to posthumously award the Dag Hammarskjöld Medal to peacekeepers who died in 2022. Peace Begins With Me campaign recognizes the service and sacrifices of the UN peacekeepers and resilience of communities they serve. This campaign also calls on everyone to join the global movement for peace. For 75 years, more than 2 million peacekeepers have worked to save and change life in the world's most fragile political and security situations. Yes, peacekeeping ने 75 years complete किए हैं. Important point आपके लिए जानना क्या है कि UN peacekeeping is, wait for a second. Peace Begins With Me was the theme of this year for UN peacekeeping. Then let's look into this one more body named as Department of Peace Operations. Formally created in 1992 as the Department of Peacekeeping Operations, dedicated to assisting the member states and the Secretary General in their efforts to maintain international peace and security. It provides the political and executive direction to UN peacekeeping operations around the world and maintains a contact with the Security Council group and the financial contact. It has 3 main offices, namely Rule of Law and Security Institutions, Office of Military Affairs, and Office of Military. Okay. So this is it with this article. Again, this body important for your prelims. Need to remember the facts. Next is India UN SDG Cooperation Framework. Niti Aayog and UN have signed the SDG Cooperation Framework, built on our 4 strategic pillars: people, prosperity, planet, and partnership. 4 interlinked pillars have 6 outcome areas. See those outcome areas, not very necessary for you to remember. इतना पता होना चाहिए कि नीति आयोग और यूएन ने एक एसडीजी फ्रेमवर्क बनाया, राइट? It represents UN Development Systems collective offer to India for achievement of sustainable development goals and has been designated as principal planning and implementation instrument for UN development system at country level. Not much important points, you can skip them. Okay. Moving on to the next point, International Criminal Court. Again important, both ICC and ICJ are important in international relations. Questions have been asked on these bodies. So South Africa is thinking about legal options if Russian president, the subject of war crimes, if Russian president, the subject of a war crimes arrest warrant issued by ICC, didn't attend the BRICS summit. That is, South Africa क्या plan कर रहा है that if Russia is attending the BRICS summit, so it is planning a legal option, a legal action that it will be taking against Russia, who is war crimes accused by ICC. There's an arrest warrant against the Russian president by ICC, blaming it for war crimes in Ukraine war. So South Africa is looking for legal actions to be taken against Russia if Russia joins attends the BRICS summit. As a member of ICC, South Africa would theoretically be required to arrest Russian president if he attended. States parties to Rome Statute have a legal obligation to cooperate. About ICC. Headquarters are in Hague, Netherlands. It is an international court to investigate and prosecute individuals accused of serious international crimes, genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, and aggression. It was established by the Rome Statute. So the parties to the Rome Statute have to cooperate, and they cannot stop South Africa from arresting the Russian president if he attended the BRICS summit. It has jurisdiction only over the crimes committed after July 1, 2022, when the Rome Statute entered into force. The court does not have its own police force. Accordingly, it relies on the state cooperation. Again, an important point. There are 123 countries party to the Rome Statute. Countries that never signed the treaty are India, China, Iraq, North Korea, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, etc. So BRICS में South Africa के अलावा और कोई भी country नहीं है which is a part of this ICC. Okay. And the countries that have signed but not ratified are Egypt, Iran, Israel, Russia, US, etc. Right. Again, 4 factual knowledge, you just need to go through it. Source of cases before the court. Member country can refer situation within its territory to the court, or the UN Security Council can refer to a situation. In this, all UN member states must cooperate regardless of the party status, or the prosecutor can initiate an investigation into the member state on its own. ठीक, तो 3 तरीकों से ISS के पास केस जा सकते हैं. मेंबर कंट्री खुद अपना केस रेफर करे ICC के पास सॉल्यूशन के लिए, या कोई लाइक UN सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल किसी को असिस्ट कर दे for registering a complaint with ICC, or the prosecutor or ICC itself suo motu takes cognizance of any case. Coming on to Universal Postal Union, Cabinet approved establishment of Regional Office of Universal Postal Union in New Delhi. Established in 1874, UPU is the second oldest international organization worldwide. Headquarters are in Bern, Switzerland. It has 192 member countries. It is the primary forum for cooperation between the postal sector entities. Sets the rules for international mail exchanges, make recommendations to stimulate growth in mail, parcel, and financial services volumes. Nothing much to remember. UPO second oldest international organization worldwide है. Headquarters है बर्न स्विट्जरलैंड में. 192 member countries है. UPO बेसिकली एक तरीके से इंटरनेशनल मेल एक्सचेंजेस का कोऑर्डिनेशन. ठीक है. Then moving on to next, Asia Pacific Plant Protection Commission. It unanimously elected India as the chair of Standing Committee on Integrated Pest Management for biennium 2023-24. Convened for the first time in 1956, it administers Regional Plant Protection Agreement for Asia and Pacific approved in 1956 by FAO Council. A total of 25 countries, including India, are the members of APPC. Meets at least once every 2 years. Objectives are promoting the development of regional plant protection systems, assistance to develop effective plant protection regimes, and setting standards for phytosanitary measures. So it is a plant protectory kind of commission which works to protect the plants from any further pest attacks or any alien invasive species attacks. ठीक है. फिर आते हैं हमारा combined maritime forces CMF. UAE has withdrew its participation in combined maritime forces. Headquartered in Bahrain, combined maritime forces is a multinational maritime partnership. India is also a member in it. Multinational maritime partnership that focuses on counter narcotics, counter smuggling, suppressing piracy, training, etc. It also responds to environmental and humanitarian accidents. Combined task forces CMF include maritime security operations outside the Arabian Gulf, maritime security operations inside the Arabian Gulf, Red Sea maritime security, etc. CMF is commanded by a US Navy Vice Admiral. So combined maritime forces का जो area of concern है, that is Arabian Gulf, its surrounding areas, and the Red Sea. ठीक है. ये एक तरीके से it's a multinational maritime partnership and India also is a member here. And coming on to Northern Sea Route, Russia has announced to invest $24 billion to develop the Northern Sea Route. The Northern Sea Route or the Northeast Passage connects the eastern and western parts of the Arctic Ocean. So Northern Sea Route is regarding connecting the eastern and western parts of the Arctic Ocean. ठीक है. ये as you can see in the diagram, ये जाएगा आपका Northern Sea Route. Like the Southern Sea Route is connected by waterways, they are planning to connect the Northern Sea Route, which will connect the eastern sections to the western sections of the Arctic Ocean, right? The Northern Sea Route runs from Barents Sea near Russia this will be the Barents Sea near Russia's border with Norway to the Bering Strait between Siberia and Alaska. NSR is different from the Northwest Passage, which is a series of possible shipping routes connecting the Atlantic. This is the Northwest Passage, Atlantic, Pacific Ocean, and the Canadian Arctic. The entire route lies in the Arctic waters and within the Russia's exclusive economic zone. Due to climate change, Northern Sea Route in Russia is becoming more accessible. Usually, the route opens up for 2 months annually. Climate change की वजह से क्या हो रहा है? Glaciers are melting. ठीक है, तो जो आर्कटिक रीजन में जो बर्फ है वो मेल्ट होके इट इज मेकिंग अप फॉर द सीज या इट इज एनहांसिंग द ओशियन कवर. ठीक, तो इसीलिए अब ये मोर अवेलेबल है. ये जो नॉर्दर्न सी रूट वाला रीजन है वो वाटर नेविगेशन के लिए रशिया के लिए ज्यादा अवेलेबल है एज कम्पेयर टू अर्लियर टाइम्स. ठीक है, पहले ये सिर्फ 2 महीने के लिए खुलता था एनुअली because only then the ice used to melt, but due to global warming the ice is melting at a faster pace and this northern sea route is open throughout the year. Significance, energy and time savings compared to the normally used sea route via Suez Canal are about 30 to 40%. It is 1/3 of the distance of the traditional route via Suez Canal. तो Suez Canal के थ्रू जो रूट जाता था वहां से जाके रशिया के लिए यहाँ तक आना was a typical thing. एंड यहाँ से रशिया के लिए तक रूट कवर करना इज टाइम कंज्यूमिंग एज वेल एज मनी कंज्यूमिंग. Piracy risk is non-existent. Why? Because these areas are not habitat-intensive, right? Because they are snow-covered areas. Easier to explore, exploit, and transport natural resources of the region. Challenges are Russia is exercising its sovereignty over the NSR, Northern Sea Route, and denial of the principle of freedom of navigation might lead to some geostrategic conflicts between Russia, US, and several other countries. Then Arctic fog will reduce the sailing time. Arctic fog will pose a problem to the sailors in sailing swiftly. Then environmental risk and increased operating cost. Environmental risk भी है क्योंकि this is something that is opening up due to climate change, right? चलो, so we are done with this IR section. अब चलते हैं हम आगे बढ़ते हैं अपने कल्चर सेक्शन, ठीक है? Okay, so this is the culture section. चोला एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, राइट? ये है हमारा आज का टॉपिक. Okay, so now this is some of the interesting areas of art and culture. Why is Chola administration in use? So recently, when I was teaching you polity, I taught you about Sengol. ठीक है? In New Parliament House, speaker की chair के opposite या speaker के chair के साथ, there has been placed an instrument named as Sengol or scepter, which is the ancient symbol of transfer of power. ठीक है? Where did it come from? Was the Chola administration. Chola administration was best known for its local self-governments in Indian ancient Indian history. ठीक है? तो इसको प्रेजेंट जो किया है वो प्रेजेंट किया है थिरुवदथराई अधीनम मोनास्ट्री के सेंट्स ने या प्रीस्ट ने. तो देख लेते हैं क्या है ये थिरुवदथराई अधीनम मोनास्ट्री. एस्टैब्लिश्ड बाय नमः शिवाय मूर्ति. I'm so sorry for my pronunciation. Please pardon me for it. So it is established by Namah Shivaya Murti, a Saivite saint and scholar in the 16th century. His mutt has an outstanding scholars in Tamil and Saivite philosophy. Heads of mutt were also patrons of Tamil scholars and musicians. Thirumular Siddharth and one of the Saivite saints and author of Thirumantiram attained enlightenment under a peepal tree in this Thiruvadantarai monastery. Mutt is on the southern banks of the river Kaveri. Again, this mutt holds significance for your prelims. You must know about each and every fact regarding this mutt because Sengol is very much in use. ठीक है? सेंगोल को जो प्रेजेंट किया है प्राइम मिनिस्टर को वो इसी मठ के सेंट ने प्रेजेंट किया है तिरुवदत्तराई अधीनम. On August 14, 1947, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru received the Sengol as a symbol of transfer of power to the government from specially arrived priests from Thiruvadantarai Adhinam in Tamil Nadu. The word Sengol is derived from the Tamil word Semmai, which means righteousness. As the observer of justice, the hand engraved Nandi sits up atop it. So there's a image of Nandi, a hand engraved Nandi that sits on the top of this figure, watching it with his unflinching gaze. The Sengol reminds the recipients that he has the Annai order or decree to rule justly and fairly. Sengol has an important place in Tamil culture. Whenever a new king is crowned, he would be presented with a Sengol during the coronation by the high priest as a symbol of transfer of power. In the Chola's empire, Sengol was considered a symbol of the path of duty, the path of service, the path of nation. This originates from the ancient Chola empire. Historians suggest that handing over of a scepter to denote the transfer of power has been in practice for nearly 2000 years since the Sangam age and finds mention in the texts such as Puranaru, Puruntugai, Perumpanathurpadai, and Kalithugai. So, Uttara Merur inscription के बारे में देखेंगे. This is one of the greatest inscription that provides us knowledge about the Chola era, right? देखेंगे अभी in detail इसको. So first let us see about Chola administration. In Chola administration, king was the most powerful individual and he had the complete power, although he was guided by a council of ministers. The top authorities was known as Perantaram, while the inferior officials were known as Sirantaram. Again, these are two very important terms. Terminologies पे question बनते हैं. So Perantaram and Sirantaram are two important terminologies for you. तो हायर अथॉरिटीज को पेरंतराम बोलते थे, काउंसिल ऑफ अमंग दी चोलास काउंसिल ऑफ मिनिस्टर्स, और इंफीरियर ऑफिशियल्स को सिरंतराम बोलते थे. Chola Empire was divided into mandalams of provinces and these were divided into Valanadus and Nadus. ठीक है. तो चोला एम्पायर जो होता था ये this was a state, Chola state. It was divided into provinces. These provinces were known as mandalam. स्टेट को हम क्या कहते थे? राज्यम, राज्यम या राज्यम. प्रोविंस को हम कहते थे मंडलम. प्रोविंस से नीचे जो डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स आ जाते थे उन डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स को हम बोलते थे वालानाडु एंड नाडु. छोटा डिस्ट्रिक्ट होता था तो इट वाज जस्ट अ नाडु, बड़ा डिस्ट्रिक्ट होता था तो इट वाज अ वालानाडु. So this was the arrangement of the district administration of Cholas. Sometimes the princes of the royal family were appointed as governors of provinces, that is the governors of the mandalams. Chola administration encouraged local self-government in the villages all over their empire. There is a mention of two assemblies, Ur and Sabha or Mahasabha, in many inscriptions, including Uttaramerur inscription. Ur was a general assembly of village, जैसे कि हमारे वैदिक पीरियड में चलती थी सभा एंड समिति. ठीक है. सभा होती थी जनरल असेंबली, समिति होती थी असेंबली ऑफ स्पेशलाइज्ड पीपल. ऐसे ही उर जो होती थी वो जनरल असेंबली होती थी एंड सभा वाज या महासभा वाज अ गैदरिंग ऑफ एडल्ट मेन इन ब्राह्मण विलेजेस which were called agraharas. This was a question in UPSC previous year regarding agraharas. ठीक है. तो ये adult men of the Brahman villages known as agraharas made the Mahasabha. दो local self government committees होती थी यहाँ पे, उर और महासभा. और एक जनरल असेंबली होती थी and महासभा was a gathering of adult men in Brahman villages known as agraharas. Then villages enjoyed a large measure of autonomy. Affairs of the villages were managed by an executive committee to which educated persons owning property were elected. Then Cholas paid attention to irrigation. River Kaveri and other rivers were used for this purpose and they built many dams and wells. In addition to the land tax, Cholas drew their income from tolls on trade, taxes on professions. Chola kings gave some rich landowners titles like Movinda Velan or a Velan or peasant serving 3 kings. Arayar or the chief. Okay? These terminologies are very important for you. You need to remember it by heart. Brahmins often received land grants or Brahmadeya. Brahmadeya was the land grants given to the Brahmins. This is again a UPSC question. And apart from this, Cholas were very famous for their navy. Okay? This was the power that had allowed them to retain strength in this South India. Okay? Its army consisted of elephant cavalry and infantry. Rajraj's son Rajendra first developed a navy for his expeditions in the Ganga Valley, Sri Lanka, and the countries of Southeast Asia. So, navy किसने build की थी? Rajraj. Rajraj first son Rajendra first. ठीक है. अब एक चीज और देख लेते हैं इसमें. उत्तरामेरूर इंस्क्रिप्शन देखते हैं and categories of land. This is an important point from your prelims perspective. You must know what were the different categories of land in the Chola administration. तो पहली थी वेलन बगाई, land of non-Brahman peasant proprietor. ब्रह्मदेय, land gifted to Brahmins. I told you land grants जो Brahmins को होती थी उनको ब्रह्मदेय बोलते थे. वेलन बगाई क्या थी? Non-Brahman peasant की जो land होती थी उसको वेलन बगाई बोलते थे. शलभोग, land for the maintenance of a school. School के maintenance के लिए शलभोग. S for school, S for शलभोग. देवदान और तिरुनामत्तुकनी, land gifted to temples. Then Palichandam, land donated to Jaina institutions. Palichhankar, you can remember Parshvanath थे जैन के एक तीर्थंकर, तो P for Parshvanath, T for Palichhankar. देवदान ये तो पता ही पड़ गया, टेम्पल्स के लिए है. तिरुनमत्तुकानी ऐसे याद कर सकते हो जैसे तिरुपति टेम्पल. ठीक है, so these are the important categories of lands. Uttaramerur inscription is one of the most important inscriptions that give important details of the Chola administration regarding the land grants as well as its mentions of Ur and Sabha. Dated around 920 AD in the reign of Parantak Chol, it is an ancient Chola village once known as Chaturvedi Mangalam and is located near Chennai in Tamil Nadu. As per Uttaramerur inscription on Chola Kudappulai election system, every village was categorized as Kudumba, the ward in modern day parlance, where representatives of General Assembly were elected. Provide details of the way in which the Sabha was organized, and the Sabha had separate committees to look after irrigation works, gardens, and temples. Qualifications to be a Kudumba or a ward member are also given in this inscriptions. The ownership of at least one-fourth value of land, own residence above 30 years and below 70 years, and the knowledge of Vedas. So this was the kind of member they were electing to their parliament or to their administration, who was learned as well as in a certain range of age, and it had a farmer background because it would have owned a certain amount of land. Then there were also norms for disqualification. Those who had been members of the committees for the past 3 years will be disqualified. Those who failed to submit accounts as the committee members are disqualified. Those who committed sins are disqualified. And those who have stolen the property of others are disqualified. So we are seeing how neat and clean maintenance of the administration system was taken up by Cholans. Conclusion, you can read it. One of the longest ruling dynasties in southern regions of India, it witnessed the onset of a new culture and art flourishes like never before. Cholas in their reign mark a remarkable period of medieval history that saw massive cultural spurt along with growth in civilization and its people. So done with it. दूसरा टॉपिक है हमारा छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज. Celebrations marking the 350th anniversary of the coronation of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj began at Raigad Fort in Maharashtra. So about Chhatrapati Shivaji, so he was born at Shivneri Fort near Junnar in Pune district on 19 February 1630. Mother was Jijabai, father was Shahaji Raje Bhosle. At time of Shivaji Maharaj's birth, most of the territory in Maharashtra was under the possession of Nizam Shah of Ahmednagar and Adil Shah of Bijapur. Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj carved out a stable kingdom with the support of powerful warrior families. They were Deshmukhs. After Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj's death, effective power in the Maharashtra state was wielded by a family of Chitpavan Brahmins who served Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj successors as Peshwas or principal ministers. Bajirao Peshwa was one of them. ठीक है, देखो अभी फिलहाल के लिए I will say for these culture related facts, you just need to mark them up if you have no background in history. ठीक है, if you have a background in history, you might be knowing the entire story. I cannot explain it over here since I've already told you we have paucity of time. Okay. When I'll be teaching you static history, I will be dealing with static history. When I'll be teaching you, I'll be teaching each and everything in detail. You don't need to go into all these nitty-gritties. Okay. So about the coronation, on 6 June 1674, Shivaji Maharaj was coronated at Raigad and he became Chhatrapati of the Swaraj. As a symbol of sovereignty, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj instituted a new era commencing from the date of its coronation, known as the Rajyabhishek Shakam. Special coins were minted on this coronation, a gold coin called Hon and a copper coin called Shivrai with the legend Sri Raja Shiv Chhatrapati inscribed on them. The foundation of Swaraj. Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj started the work of founding the Swaraj in the Pune region, which is full of hills and valleys and it's not easily accessible. The inhabitants of this region are called Mavallas. The objective of founding Swaraj is clearly expressed in its official seal that Kingdom of Shivaji will always seek the welfare of people. He skillfully utilized the geographical features of the Mawal region for the purpose of the foundation of Swaraj. He captured the forts of Murumdev, Raigad, Torna, Vandana, Purandar, and laid the foundations of Swaraj. Swaraj comprised of large areas of Nasik, Pune, Satara, Sangli, Kolhapur, Sindhudurg, Ratnagiri, Raigad, and Thane districts of Maharashtra. These information see आज तक तो यूपीएससी ने नहीं पूछी है, पूछ ले तो पता नहीं, so you must be very thorough with it. ठीक है. It also included parts of Belgaum, Karwar, and Dharwad districts of Karnataka, and Jinji, Vellore, and other neighboring areas in Tamil Nadu. Raigad Fort is an important thing. UPSC ने तो नहीं पूछा है, but several state pieces have asked it. Raigad is a hill fort situated in Sahyadri mountain ranges of the Western Ghats. Fort was known to early Europeans as the Gibraltar of the East. Gibraltar of the East. Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj has won this fort in 1656 in a battle with Chandra Rao More, a feudal lord ruling a part of the Western Ghats. Due to the fort's massive size, steep slopes, and easy communication with the mainland and the sea, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj chose this fort as his capital in 1662. Famous structures at the fort are Mahadarwaza, Hirkani Buruj, King's Darbar, etc. The fort also overlooks an artificial lake known as the Ganga Sagar Lake. Other famous forts in Raigad district are Kolaba Fort, Sudhagar Fort, Murud Janjira Fort, etc. Administrative structure of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. King was as the helm of affairs. To assist, there was a council of ministers known as Ashtapradhan. This Ashtapradhan of Shivaji Maharaj is very important. It is asked several times in UPSC. ठीक है, पेशवा प्राइम मिनिस्टर होता था, मसूमदार अकाउंटेंट होता था, वाक्य नवीस इंटेलिजेंस ऑफिसर होता था, दबीर was the foreign secretary, सेनापति न्यायाधीश and पंडित राव. सेनापति तो you must know, commander in chief. न्यायाधीश was the judge, and Pandit Rao was the in charge of charitable grants. So leaving this Pandit Rao, whenever there was any kind of war or something, leaving Nyayadhish and Pandit Rao, all other officials had to appear in the war. Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj preferred to give cash salaries to regular soldiers, though sometimes the chiefs received revenue grants in the form of saranjam. Saranjam were the revenue grants given to the chiefs in Maratha Empire under Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. Again, an important point. Saranjam pe question aa chuka hai. Mirasidas, those with the hereditary rights in land, were strictly supervised. So these were hereditary landowners in Chhatrapati Shivaji's reign. Mirasidas have also been asked. Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj supplemented his income by levying a contribution on the neighboring Mughal territories in the form of chaud. 1/4 of the land revenue was collected from these territories on the grounds of giving them independence. Otherwise, Shivaji would have annexed it. Then next is talking about the military organization of Shivaji Maharaj. He maintained a light cavalry and a light infantry trained in guerrilla and guerrilla warfare. The Mewalis and Hitkaris were his most excellent troopers. The Mewalis और Hitkaris अगर terminology आ जाती है तो ये छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज की आर्मी के troopers थे. Then establishment of the Maratha Navy to protect his own territory from these depredations. To protect the merchant ships and ports in order to secure and enhance revenue incomes. He concentrated on building the navy. There were 400 ships of various kinds in the navy. They include battleships like Gurab, Galbat, and Pali. Now, who were the Siddhis? Siddhis were the Abyssinians who settled at the Zanjira in 15th century. They got Danda Rajpuri from Ahmednagar rulers and later acted independently. Majority of them were brought to the Indian subcontinent as slaves, bodyguards, and soldiers during the time of Delhi Sultanate. Siddhis fought many fierce sea battles with the Dutch, Portuguese, French, British, Mughals, and the Marathas, but remained undefeated. Siddhis' prowess reached its peak under their ruler Surul Khan. So Siddhis were a issue, yeah, they were a kind of sea troopers, okay, which was to be dealt by Navy, right? Then moving on further, forts found the prime place in Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj's scheme of military organization. So forts were an important part of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj's military organization. He has constructed around 250 forts. No single officer was entrusted the sole charge of a fort. Instead, every fort there was a havaldar in charge of keys, a subnees, a muster roll and government correspondence, and a saranavad in charge of the garrison. Okay, so this was his fort structure. Fort structure. He also built certain sea forts that would provide protection to the navy and keep in check the cities of Janjira and the Portuguese. He built the Suvarna Durga. In 1664, he commenced the construction of Sindhu Durga at Malwan. About the same time, he strengthened the fort named Vijayadurga. He also built a fort named Padmadurga on a small island in front of Rajpuri to counter the Sindhi power. Conclusion में Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj has been one of the greatest national heroes of India. His greatest achievement was to inculcate the spirit of independence in his people. By his great deeds and achievements, he created an altogether new order of things. Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj's personality and message are as relevant today as they were in their past. Moving on to GI tag. So several new products from Uttar Pradesh have got the GI tag. Nothing much to explain over here. I'll be explaining you what are the like legislations governing GI tag and what basically a GI tag means. इसके अलावा बाकी सारे factual data you need to just memorize them. So about GI, geographical indication, goods originating in the territory of a member or a regional locality in that territory, where a given characteristic of a good is essentially attributable to its geographical origin. ठीक, किसी territory को specific कोई good जिसका जो special characteristic है that comes because of its geographical location, then such a territory or such a product is granted a GI tag. It is defined in the TRIPS agreement of WTO. It is registered for a period of 10 years and can be renewed again for a period of 10 years each time. The first product to get GI tag in India was the Darjeeling tea in 2004. Some of the states with maximum number of GI tags are Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh and Kerala. Importance, it enables the right holders to use the indication to prevent its use by a third party, and it does not enable the holder to prevent someone from making a product using some techniques. ठीक है, तो मतलब क्या है कि ये राइट होल्डर्स को एम्पावर करता है दैट दे कैन प्रिवेंट इट्स यूज बाय अ थर्ड पार्टी. डायरेक्ट यूज नहीं कर सकती है थर्ड पार्टी उस सामान का, लेकिन it does not enable the holder of a GI tag to prevent someone from making a product using some techniques. तो अगर वो कोई like there is a GI tag for रसोगुल्ला, ठीक है, तो वेस्ट बंगाल के पास ये GI tag है of रसोगुल्ला. Now with this GI tag, if someone else is preparing this material by some other formulas, then West Bengal cannot stop some other geographical indication to prepare this material. उनका मटेरियल कोई थर्ड पार्टी अपने नाम से नहीं यूज कर सकती, लेकिन कोई थर्ड पार्टी अगर उनके जैसा मटेरियल बना रही है उनके अपने नाम से, then they can use it. ठीक है, so this is the purpose. Then geographical indications of goods Act 1999, GI Act 1999 is the legislation, and GI Rules 2002 are the legislation that govern it in India. Mechanism क्या होता है? Registrar of Geographical Indication, Comptroller General of Patents, Design and Trademarks under DPIIT. It supervises the functioning of Geographical Indications Registry, and GIR has an all India jurisdiction. Right? About the products, just you can go through them. Amroha Dholak, Bagpat Home Furnishings, Kalpi Handmade Paper. You can read and memorize about these products. ठीक है, ये ज़्यादा better memorize होंगे with the help of visualization. So we are planning it and we'll be doing it. slowly and gradually we'll be making some 30 seconds shots on these things that have been granted GI tag. We have already made it on curry sharta. You can go and visit it. चलो आगे देखते हैं news and shorts. So Upanishads, PM gifted first edition print of book The 10 Principal Upanishads written in India and Irish scholar in 1937 to the President of the United States. Book is translated from Sanskrit and considered to be one of the best translations of Upanishads, one of the most important Hindu traditions. Upanishads, also known as Vedanta, signal the end of the total Vedic literature, speculate the ontological connections between humanity and cosmos. Ontological connection का मतलब होता है कि जिसके कोई empirical advances नहीं है या empirical evidences नहीं, ठीक है. Dated to roughly 800 to 500 BC, Upanishads discuss about relationship between Atman, the unchanging self of an individual, Brahman, the ultimate reality of the universe. 10 main Upanishads are Ish Upanishad, Ken Upanishad, Kat Upanishad, Prashna Upanishad, Munda, Mandukya, Aitreya, Chandogya, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Right? Sorry for the misspelling. दूसरी चीज है राजा पर्व. राजा पर्व या मिथुन संक्रांति is a 3-day festival that is celebrated in Odisha. Raja word comes from Rajaswala, which means a menstruating women, and this is a kind of agricultural holiday that is celebrated in Odisha, worshipping the Bhudevi, the mother goddess or the wife of Lord Jagannath, placed in the Puri temple of Jagannath. This festival celebrates womanhood, and it is believed that the mother goddess Earth undergoes menstruation during the first 3 days and prepares herself for the future agricultural activities with the arrival of monsoon. Second day is signifying the beginning of the solar month of Mithun, from which the season of rain starts, and it welcomes the agricultural year in Odisha. Fourth day is known as Basumati Gadwa, or the ceremonial bath of Bhudevi. During these 3 days, women are given a break from household work and time to play indoor games. Girls adorn traditional sari and apply alta on foot. All people abstain from walking barefoot on the earth. Common सी चीजें, nothing much to explain. अम्बुबाची मेला you all might be knowing क्योंकि ये previous year का question भी रहा है. कामाख्या टेम्पल में ये मेला निकाला जाता है. 4-day का annual fair है, located atop the Neelachal Hills in Guwahati, Assam. It is celebrated to mark the annual menstrual cycle of goddess Kamakhya. It also marks an occasion to promote awareness about the menstrual hygiene. Kamakhya temple is one of the 52 Shakti peeths that are present in India. It is also considered one of the prime seats of tantric rituals. Then moving on further, Johar rice. Scientists explored nutraceutical properties of Johar rice, a GI tag from Assam. Detected 2 unsaturated fatty acids, linoleic acid omega-6 and linoleic acid omega-3. Johar rice has a more balanced ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 as compared to the widely consumed non-scented varieties. It's a short grain winter paddy known for its significant aroma and taste. You need to know ये कहाँ का है? It's of Assam. GI tag है. Johar varieties are mostly short or medium grain and very low yield potential. It is effective in lowering the blood glucose and preventing diabetes onset. It is also rich in several antioxidants, flavonoids, and phenolics. Next is menhirs. So menhirs were basically the upright megalithic stones that had been found in Muddumal village in Telangana. Wait for a second. Yes, they're erected above a burial or near a burial site as a memorial. According to archaeologists, the menhirs have been designed in a manner that they align with the sun on particular days like equinoxes and solstices. If you don't know what are equinoxes and solstices, so sir is about to begin with geography static and he will be probably beginning with this universe area. So he'll be teaching you. Don't worry about it. Thus, menhirs enabled the early agrarian people to chart the movement of the sun. The early farmers or the agrarian people were trying to chart the movement of the sun by their reflection on the menhirs. The knowledge of sun's movement would have helped them understand seasons. They are also used as clocks and calendars, as they were measuring time, identifying specific days, months, and seasons from the shadows that were reflected by the sunlight falling on them. So, apart from this, you need to know it's the Asia's largest cluster of menhirs. Locally, they are called Nilupuralu, meaning standing rocks. ठीक है? ये detailed, sorry. This detail is not much important for you. आगे आ जाओ. The next is Homo naledi. New evidence suggests that Homo naledi, an extinct human species, may have buried their dead and carved meaningful symbols in a cave. The burials are older than any known Homo sapiens burials by at least 1 lakh years. Features of Homo naledi. So they are a kind of, what we say, a kind of humanoid remain we have got, जो कि बहुत less हैं of our Stone Age era. When I'll be teaching you history, I'll be telling you in detail how we have proceeded, how we have known about our Stone Age era. We have only archaeological evidences for it. उसमें weaponry, tools, and items of daily use are in plenty, but we have very less hominoid evolution evidences. ठीक है? So Homo naledi has been found in that respect. They walked fully upright and had hands that were similar to ours. Shoulders were built for climbing, and teeth were shaped like that of older primates to eat raw flesh. Brain size was just 1/3 of their modern humans. Humankind's earliest ancestor, Ardipithecus, Australopithecus, Homo habilis, Homo erectus, Homo neanderthalis, and Denisovans. These are some of the earlier species. Okay, so PIB marks its centennial anniversary. What is the centennial anniversary? That is, PIB is completing, means completing a century. Okay, so PIB has completed a century. That is, it has marked 100 years of its existence. Okay? PIB, almost all of you might be knowing what is PIB. It's the nodal agency of Government of India to disseminate information to the print and electronic media on the government policies, programs, etc. Genesis कहाँ से हुआ? It is headed by whom? Functions क्या हैं? You can just go through it. ठीक है? चलो आगे देखते हैं. So Jatan. What is this Jatan? It's a virtual museum builder. That is, it is a digital collection management system for the Indian museums. Client server application with features such as image cropping, watermarking, etc. It has been designed and developed by Human Centers Design and Computing Group, Center for Development of Advanced Computing, Pune. Okay, it's a premier RD organization of MIT for carrying out research and development in IT, electronics, and associated areas. It was established in 1988. CTAT. Okay. So this is all about this Jatan. Okay. So it is assumed that it is the part of central government's plan to complete 3D digitization of all the museums under its administrative control. Ministry of Culture currently has 10 museums under its control, and Archaeological Survey of India has site museums at 44 locations. Partners are Ministry of Electronics and Ministry of Culture, MIT and Ministry of Culture. Okay. Then moving on to the next topic, Gandhi Peace Prize. So Gandhi Peace Prize will be conferred on Gita Press, Gorakhpur. This year's Gandhi Peace Prize is going on. 2021's Gandhi Peace Prize is going to Gita Press, Gorakhpur. So it is an annual peace prize instituted in 1955 on the occasion of 125th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. The award is open to all persons. Award carries a cash prize of ₹1 crore, a citation, a plate, and excuse me, and an exquisite traditional handicraft item Past awardees include the organizations such as ISRO and Ramakrishna Mission have also been granted this Gandhi Peace Prize. Next is the Sahitya Academy Award. Ministry of Culture intends to change the nomination process. What is Sahitya Academy Award? It's a literary honor conferred annually on the writers of most outstanding books. Beside 22 languages enumerated in the Constitution, in the 8th schedule of the Constitution. English and Rajasthani language are also recognized. The award includes a casket containing of engraved copper plate, a shawl, and an amount of rupees 1 lakh. Sahitya Academy functions as an autonomous organization. It is registered as a society under the Society's Registration Committee. Understood? Which is समझाने लायक कहानी. Then the Diamond League and ICC World Test Championships, sports related news hai. You can just go through it. Right? So done within IR and culture portions. अब कल एक part 4 release करेंगे, जिसमें we'll be doing with the probably environment as well as I'll be dealing with social issues or one section is all left out. हाँ, ethics. ठीक है, तो environment के साथ या तो ethics कर लेंगे या social issues कर लेंगे. We'll be finishing off. फिर एक session और होगा, उसमें science and tech एक standalone topic लेंगे, साथ में हम social issues या ethics, whatever will be left out. ठीक है? So, okay friends. Bye bye. See you in the next video. Hope you all are enjoying learning. And please do like, share, and subscribe for our encouragement personally. Okay, because these things take time, preparing materials and preparing these classes. This takes time, and your encouragement will help us do further better. Right? Okay, so bye bye. See you next time.